What if Naruto was son of Hashirama and Mito, and raised by them? Don't stop! Yelled the third Hokage. The beast raged on as it thrashed its tails, causing shockwaves. Destruction was the only word that could be used to describe what had happened to the Leaf Village. Nearly 60% of the village was destroyed in some way. Hiruzen Sarutobi used his bowstaff to push back the beast, hoping that the plan they all came up with would work. With Minato and Kushina. Honey, I'm sorry. This must be done, he said, lifting 2 bundles into his arms, making Kushina cry. Please. Minato-kun, she cried out. She felt a hand on her shoulder to see her mother figure, Mito Uzumaki, the woman who raised her. Kushina-chan, it will be okay, she said, picking up the 2 other bundles. That is right. Kushina and Minato were the proud parents of quadruplets. Mito heard something and looked to see her granddaughter running in and got by Kushina's side. Don't worry, Granny Mito. I'll focus on her. You go help Minato, she said, using medical chakra to heal her. Good. Make sure she makes it out alive. These children will need their parents by the end of this, she said, having Minato grab her, teleporting away. In the battle, the great 9-tailed fox started to swing his tail once but looked down to see trees starting to wrap around them. He looked onward to see the man responsible for this. Hashirama Senju, you goddamn fool. You cannot stop me, he roared out, trying to break free with no avail. He then saw a yellow blur and looked down to see the yellow flash and his previous host with him, all holding the children. They placed the children down a stone slab. How they were all still asleep, much to their astonishment. Mito turned to Minato. Do you all have names for the 4 of them? She asked, looking at the restrained beast. Oh yeah, you weren't there for that, he said, smiling softly. He pointed to the girl at the far left end. She had blonde hair with blue eyes like Minato's. That is Naomi. He moved to the right and pointed at a boy with blonde hair and violet eyes like his mother. That is Menma. He moved once more to the right, and you saw a girl that had bright red hair and violet eyes. That is Keed. He finally moved to the end to see a boy with bright red hair and some of the most fascinating blue eyes imaginable. That is Naruto, he said, smiling at all his children. He thought it was really cute that Naruto was the only one to have whisker marks. The fox looked down to see the 2 of them, and what the babies were out for, and he freaked out. The fox roared, scaring the populace even further. The fox broke free from one of the tree bindings he had and launched his hand at Mito. Mito-chan! Yelled Hashirama. The hand was close to them, but the fox looked at his hands to see chains shooting out and wrapping around his hand. He felt as if chakra was being seeped out from everywhere now, and he toppled over the children. Mito looked towards Hashirama and smiled. I'm okay, we have it under control here. She then heard hand signs being run through and looked at Minato, who was doing familiar hand signs she had seen before, and her eyes widened. No, Minato, wait. I am the one who is supposed to do that, she said, losing some grip on the adamantine chakra chain she had. A Hokage needs to make sacrifices for their village, Lady Mito. This isn't your burden, he said, finishing the hand signs. Everyone within a 1-mile radius felt a cold chill run up their spine. Minato looked to see the Shinigami right before him. What is that you require, mortal? The Shinigami asked. I need you to separate 3 tails of chakra into my children and give one of them the soul of the fox, he said, wavering slightly from the frightening presence before him. Hashirama and Mito were sweating at the chakra strain they were having from holding back the fox. Do you know of the consequences of this, mortal? Yes, I do, he said. Good, was all the Shinigami said. The fox started to roar in pain as he was being separated bit by bit. The Shinigami looked at the 4 children but froze for all but a moment. The Shinigami looked at the children with red hair, blue eyes, and whiskers, and smiled. So, you are the one to change the future. Very well, as she sealed the soul into Naruto, making him cry. The other 3 children started to cry as 3 tails of the beast's chakra were sealed into them as well. When all was over, the Shinigami looked at Minato as he waited in anticipation. Mito and Hashirama fell to their knees as they stopped using their jutsu. Listen well, mortal. One of your children is special and will make a big impact on this world. For that, I will allow you to be the father that they need in their life. For they will need it. Consider yourself the luckiest mortal to use this jutsu, the Shinigami said as she faded. This lifted the cold feeling that was as everyone looked around. Minato walked over to his children and smiled and then promptly fainted from exhaustion. Mito smiled at this and was helped by Hashirama. What a day, huh? He said as Mito playfully hit his chest. Always with the jokes, Hashirama-kun, she said smiling and hugging him with him doing it back. How about we get him to the hospital? As they both looked at him. 3 hours later at the hospital, Minato slowly opened his eyes to a bright white light in the room. He opened them all the way ignoring the lights to see the room filled with people he knew. Hashirama and Mito sat together holding a bundle each as Swanda, and her apprentice Shizen were doing checkups on Minato and Kushina. Minato looked at Kushina and smiled as he saw she was awake. She was holding her 2 other kids. Hiruzen and Kakashi leaned against the wall with a newfound member in the room. Good lord, kid. You sure know how to put some stress on a man, don't you? Said a tall, white-haired man as he went up and hugged the man. I'm fine, Jiraiya-sensei, he drawled out as he put a silencing seal in the room, getting some weird reactions. What is the meaning of this, Minato-kun? Asked Hiruzen as he walked towards the bed. We need to talk about something. I will say it all at once and then you all can ask questions, he said, getting up fully now to sit next to Kushina. Firstly, when Kushina gave birth to our children, he said, holding Menma in his hands. There was a masked man who was able to rip out the 9 tails and then summon it at will, even if it was for a short time. He possessed a Sharingan. Secondly, when Lady Mito and Lord Hashirama used their jutsu to restrain the beast, I used the Reaper Death Seal to summon the Shinigami, and the Shinigami told me that I would live to see another day, he said, holding Kushina's hand. Minato, you survived the Reaper Death Seal. Something that kills you, said Jiraiya. That is about the luckiest thing you could ever do, he said, with Minato nodding in return. Not to mention there is an Uchiha involved, said Hashirama, knowing who it was. It must be Madara. Only one man could live that long and find a way to do it, he said, with Mito grabbing his hand. Minato sighed and looked at the ceiling. God, this is a lot. Not to mention the village. Don't worry about the wood for construction. I already have that covered, said Hashirama, smiling. Minato looked at Hashirama with gratitude. Thank you, Lord Hashirama. That's a huge relief. Hashirama waved a hand dismissively. Nonsense, Minato. This village is as much our home as it is yours. We'll rebuild it together. Mito, holding Naomi gently, looked around the room. We need to ensure the safety of the village and these children. The threat is still out there. Tsunade nodded, her expression serious. We'll need to increase security and find out more about this masked man. He's a danger to everyone. I agree, but first I need to go to the office quickly to access everything and then we will go from there, he said, getting up, kissing Kushina, and teleporting to the office. Hokage's office. Minato looked at him as Jiraiya was next to him. Jiraiya, there is some other information I will tell the others later, but I will tell you now, he said, turning around. The Shinigami told me that one of the children is special, making his eyes widen. Minato. That is why I am here too. I have a prophecy from the toads, he said, pulling out a scroll. He cleared his throat before he began to read. From a clan of new and a clan of old, if not taken care of, the future will unfold. A child of prophecy, their fate intertwined, their path uncertain, their power unrefined. Through trials and shadows, their destiny will mold. In the balance of worlds, a story to be told. Guided by wisdom, their courage is their key. They'll bring forth peace or calamity. Y'all better appreciate that because that took me a long time to make it that smooth. Jiraiya finished as he looked at Minato. Minato, Kid, Naomi, or Menma must be either of those children. Think about it. Your clan is new and Kushina is older than most clans combined. How is it new, and what about Naruto? He said, a little upset. Listen to the Leaf Village law. If a civilian becomes the Hokage, they will be implemented into a clan. That is what makes you a new clan. It's barely a year old as a matter of fact. About Naruto, he has the soul of the fox if I am not mistaken. He possesses no chakra whatsoever from the fox. While he is containing the beast, his other siblings will have to take priority. I am not saying to leave him for dead, I am saying that when the time comes to train his siblings first, and then him, Jiraiya said. Minato held an understanding look and eventually nodded. Yeah, I guess you are right, he said, sitting down for a moment to collect his thoughts. We explained to the others. They will understand that it is for the betterment of the future, he said as someone barged in. Minato looked to see his receptionist was in a cast and walked in with some vigor. Lord Forth, the people are waiting for your announcement, she said as Minato got up. Good, thank you Kazumi-san, he said, gesturing for Jiraiya to follow. Soon the two of them were at the top of the Hokage Tower, and he could see the citizens and shinobi of the Leaf Village. He had to be strong for them. He was the Hokage after all. He looked to see his wife in a wheelchair with Tsunade pushing, holding Naomi and Menma, while Shizen and Kakashi held Kid and Naruto. Minato stood tall, looking over the gathered crowd, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what he needed to say. He took a deep breath and began. People of the Leaf Village, Minato's voice carried with the strength of a Hokage, yet there was a gentleness to it. Last night, our village faced a great threat. The Nine-Tails was unleashed upon us, causing destruction and loss. But we stood together, as we always have, and we prevailed. The crowd murmured in response, their faces a mix of relief and sorrow. I want to first acknowledge the bravery and sacrifice of our shinobi, who fought tirelessly to protect our home. Without them, we would not be standing here today. Minato continued, I know you are all worried about the future, about rebuilding our village, and about the threat that still looms over us. Rest assured, we are already taking steps to ensure our safety and to rebuild stronger than ever. The man who attacked us is still out there, and we will not rest until he is brought to justice. There was a ripple of determination through the crowd, a shared resolve to protect their home. Now I must share some important news about my family. Last night, my wife Kushina and I welcomed our children into the world. We have been blessed with quadruplets, Naomi, Menma, Kid, and Naruto. There were gasps of surprise and murmurs of excitement. Babies were always a sign of hope, even in dark times. Minato's expression grew more serious. However, the events of last night required us to make a difficult decision. To protect the village and our children, we had to seal parts of the Nine-Tails chakra within Naomi, Menma, and Kid while Naruto has the soul. Each of my children carries a piece of this powerful being within them. The crowd's reaction was a mix of awe and concern. Some thought the Nine-Tails might attack again. Others thought that children will have to carry this burden. Minato made 3 shadow clones, each grabbing a child. These are the saviors and heroes of the Leaf Village, he said, holding his children high. We will rebuild our village, and we will protect our children. Together, we are strong. Together, we are the Leaf Village. The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by Minato's words. He stepped back, feeling the weight of his responsibility, but also the strength of his village behind him. As the crowd began to disperse, Minato turned to Jiraiya, Tsunade, and the others. We have much work to do. Let's get started. This, however, did not stop the doubters from believing the young Naruto was still a threat to the village that they loved. The Leaf Village 7 years later. Remember to study for the test next week, said Irika as the kids packed up, all running out. One boy took his time though and went on a different path. He started to make his way to the park to sit down on a nearby park bench. He had electrifying blue eyes with red hair and whiskers to match. His name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. He was the firstborn of quadruplets, and heir to both clans of Namikaze and Uzumaki. If you were to look at him from another village though, you wouldn't think that. Naruto smiled and pulled out his notebook and pencil and started to draw the surrounding landscape. He always found comfort in drawing and coloring when he tried to take his mind off things. His life until 2 years ago was something that he also appreciated so much. He and his siblings played nearly every day together until it just stopped. Their 5th birthday was the last birthday he had, and that is when they started to train his siblings. When it started to go downhill. He didn't understand why it wasn't him. They started everything early, as every clan child should. Unlocking their chakra, weapons practice, and even some taijutsu and ninjutsu lessons, they had it all. It was only when he had asked that it was wrong of him too. He thought he wasn't asking for much, but apparently he was. You would have thought that being in the academy for a year would make him strong, but if he had help, he would be even stronger. They would always say, quite bothering your siblings, Naruto. It's not always about you, Naruto. Go do something else. Let your siblings train because they need it more than you. You'll get your training someday. The one that hurt the most though was. Your siblings are special, Naruto, You don't need what they have yet. It was always like that, so he started to train himself as much as he could. He would do 200 push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and crunches to increase his strength. He noticed that he had peaked though, and he physically could not do it anymore. Maybe he wasn't eating enough. In the beginning, sometimes when dinner was ready his parents would forget to call for him, and there wasn't always enough to eat. It started to progress more and more until his mom forgot to make his food. He would make himself ramen for that though. He would also do his taijutsu kata from the Tiger Fist, the Academy Taijutsu style, because he hasn't learned his clan styles yet. He wanted to do just one thing. Make his family proud of him. Not being noticed hurts a lot more than if he were alone in this world. He would just have to train harder. He always told himself that. Maybe he was foolish, but you can't blame a 7-year-old. His siblings had started to separate themselves from him. He would be teased and harassed by his siblings because they were getting selective treatment, always saying how they were better than him and always would be. They would embarrass him in the academy too. Taijutsu spars were the worst, but for now, he was drawing the magnificent trees and plants around him in the park. Naruto continued to sketch, the tranquility of the park contrasting sharply with the turmoil in his heart. Drawing was his escape, his solace, a momentary retreat from the reality of his life. The scene before him came to life on the page, the tall trees with their swaying branches, the vibrant flowers dotting the ground, and the serene pond reflecting the clear sky. He thought about the hatred thrown towards was from the civilians and the shinobi. He may have been 7 years old, but he always was thrown looks of disgust and hatred from the civilians and looks of disappointment from the shinobi. He hated it. He didn't do anything wrong to his knowledge. As he shaded a particularly intricate leaf, he heard familiar voices approaching. His siblings, Naomi, Menma, and Keed, were coming from their training session. He glanced up briefly, feeling a pang of longing as he watched them laugh and chat animatedly. They seemed so close, so united, and yet he felt like an outsider looking in. "Hey, look who's here!" Menma's voice broke through his thoughts. Naruto's heart sank. He knew what was coming. "Still wasting time with your silly drawings, Naruto?" Keed added, her tone mocking. Naomi didn't say anything, but her disdainful look spoke volumes. Naruto forced a smile, hoping to deflect their scorn. "Just enjoying the park," he said quietly, returning his focus to his drawing. "Enjoying the park? You should be training, Naruto." "No wonder you're so weak," Menma sneered, his violet eyes glinting with superiority. Naruto clenched his pencil tightly, his knuckles turning white. "I train too," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Just, not with you," Keed scoffed. "Yeah, right. Do you think your little exercises make you strong? You'll never be like us." The words stung, but Naruto refused to let them see how much they hurt. "I'll get stronger," he said, more to himself than to them. "You'll see." Naomi finally spoke, her voice cold and detached. "Come on, let's leave him to his drawings. We have real training to do." As they walked away, Naruto's shoulders slumped. He stared at his drawing, the once calming lines and shapes now a blur through his tears. He wiped his eyes quickly, not wanting anyone to see him cry. "One day," he murmured to himself. "One day I'll show them. I'll show everyone," he said, wiping more tears and getting back to his drawing. "Senju compound. Good Lord, remind me not to do that again," said Mito as she sat next to Hashirama. "Yeah, I agree," he said, putting his arm around her and leaning into her. "For years is too long to be away. I mean, I understand helping the neighboring villages, but doing 4 years of teaching about Fuinjutsu and bolstering other villages' seals is ridiculous, especially since only 15 people learned from me in that time," she said, huffing. "Yeah, but at least it was me there protecting you," Hashirama chuckled, giving her a playful nudge. Mito sighed, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I miss this place. I am honestly surprised they could spare us in a time of need. Mitoheim, it was supposed to show that we are strong and can be there for the other villages. Tell you what, how about we go to the park to relax and detox a bit? We have a few days before we are introduced back to the clan affairs," he said, helping her up. "Yeah, why not?" she said, with him teleporting them to the entrance of the park. As they walked through the park, enjoying the sights and sounds of nature, they noticed a red-haired little boy sitting on a bench, drawing away. Intrigued, they approached him quietly, watching as he focused intently on his work. "That's Naruto-kun," said Mito using her sensory abilities. Hashirama nodded and wondered what he was doing out there. Naruto felt a calling to his chakra that made him aware of two people behind him. He looked behind him quickly to see two figures, a male and a female, holding hands walking towards him. "Oh, hello there," Naruto said, turning around slightly. Mito was slightly surprised that he saw them that far away. She would ask him that later. "This might sound weird, but do you remember us, Naruto-kun?" asked Mito. Oh, you, that lady in Mom's photos," said Naruto, shutting his notebook. "That is right, my name is Mito Uzumaki Senju, and this is my husband Hashirama Senju," she said, pointing to him. "Wow, you the first Hokage," said Naruto excitedly. He bowed towards him and her. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude before Lady Mito and Lord First." Mito and Hashirama laughed wholeheartedly before Mito spoke. "Don't be silly, Naruto-kun. No need to be so formal with us. Which reminds me, why are you out and not with your parents?" "Well, Dad is probably at the tower, and Mom is training my siblings," he said, looking away. This confused them. He was the clan heir to two clans, and he needed to be trained too. "Well, why not?" asked Hashirama, sitting next to him, gesturing for Mito to join him. "They tell me that they need it more and I have to wait. I've been training myself in exercises and stuff until I can be trained," he said, still not looking at him. He started to feel something radiating from Mito and Hashirama. He was getting scared by the looks on their faces, but they toned it back when they saw they were scaring him. "How about we go to the Senju compound?" said Hashirama as they all teleported to the compound. They were on the couch in the living room, and Naruto noticed the sheer size of the place. This was bigger than his family compound back home. "Naruto-kun, how about you go and get a shower while we get some food ready?" Hashirama offered as he nudged him. "Oh, okay," was all he said as he followed him to the shower. After a few moments, Naruto took off his clothes and got into the shower. Hashirama got him some clothes and told him they were near the sink when he saw the frame of Naruto's body. He was about inches tall, 3 feet 9 inches, which wasn't exactly tall for a 7-year-old. He looked malnourished at that, is what Hashirama did not want to see. He left the room to see Mito slightly freaking out. "Hashirama-kun, there is just no way they would do that to a child. We practically raised Kushina to be someone who loves everyone. They are neglecting him. This breaks so many rules in Uzumaki clan tradition, not to mention he is the clan heir to the Uzumaki clan after me," she said, on the verge of tears. Hashirama wrapped his arms around her and calmed her down. "It's okay, Haim. I have already sent a couple of wood clones to investigate, and we will go from there. We will know the gist of it by the end of the day when he leaves. I know that, but we should have been there for him. The good news is that we are here now, and we can change that," she said, thinking of what to do next. They heard footsteps and saw that Naruto was standing in the hallway, hair still slightly wet. Mito smiled at him and gestured for him to sit at the table. Naruto looked to see there was some fruit and pork out for him. He started to chow down as Mito and Hashirama sat. "Naruto-kun, as much as it hurts, can you please tell me what has happened back home?" asked Mito gently. Naruto swallowed before speaking. "About a couple of years ago, Mom, Dad, and even Jiraiya and Granny Tswanda started to train my siblings. They don't train me though, and it hurts. I just want to make my family proud, you know," he said, looking at them. Mito and Hashirama held back the hate they had now. Naruto went into depth about as much as he could. The two elder shinobi did not know how to react, so they just listened to him. Naruto continued to recount his experiences, detailing the neglect he had endured. Hashirama and Mito listened intently, their expressions a mix of sorrow and anger. They exchanged glances, silently vowing to rectify the situation. "So, you've been training by yourself all this time?" Hashirama asked gently, his voice filled with compassion. Naruto nodded, his eyes downcast. "Yeah, I do what I can. I just want to be strong like my siblings and parents, and make my family proud." Mito reached across the table, placing a comforting hand on Naruto's. "Naruto-kun, you are stronger than you realize. It takes immense courage to endure what you have and still strive to improve." Naruto looked up, surprised by her words. He had never heard such kindness and encouragement directed toward him before. Thank you, Lady Mito, he said softly, a small smile forming on his lips. Hashirama leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. Naruto, how would you feel about training with us for a while? We can teach you everything you need to know to become a great shinobi. Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief. Really? You'd train me? Of course, Hashirama replied with a warm smile. You have the potential to be truly remarkable, Naruto. We see it in you. Tears welled up in Naruto's eyes, but they were tears of gratitude and hope this time. Thank you so much. I won't let you down. Mito squeezed his hand gently. We know you won't, Naruto-kun. Now, let's enjoy this snack, and afterward, we can start your training schedule. As they finished eating, Naruto felt a sense of belonging that he had longed for. The Senju compound was quickly becoming a place of refuge, a place where he was valued and cared for. Mito had a shadow clone over dinner to make a schedule for him to start his training, and she showed him to ask what he thought. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Academy, 2:15 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Snack, 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Physical exercise and weapons throwing, 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Taijutsu and ninjutsu training, 15-minute break, 4:45 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. Chakra control, 15-minute break, 6 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. dinner, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. reading, end of day, weekend, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. physical exercise and taijutsu, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. weapons throwing, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. chakra control and ninjutsu, lunch, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. history lessons, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Fuinjutsu training, dinner time and end of day. Naruto looked at this and ogled it with excitement. This looks awesome. Do we start tomorrow? He asked, not being able to wait any longer. Mito smiled at him. Of course, now why don't we train a little bit to introduce to you how this will go while Hashirama-kun makes dinner? Naruto nodded eagerly, his heart pounding with anticipation. He followed Mito to a spacious training ground within the Senju compound. The area was serene, surrounded by tall trees and a small pond that reflected the setting sun. It was the perfect place to begin his training. All right, Naruto-kun, Mito began. Let's start with the leaf concentration exercise. I want you to take this leaf and place it on your forehead. Focus your chakra to keep the leaf in place. Naruto took the leaf and placed it on his forehead. He closed his eyes, concentrating hard. He felt the familiar warmth of his chakra and directed it towards the leaf. It wobbled slightly but stayed in place. Mito observed him, nodding in approval. Good, Naruto-kun. Now, try to walk around while keeping the leaf in place, Mito instructed. Naruto opened his eyes and took a cautious step forward. The leaf wobbled again but remained on his forehead. He took another step, and then another, gaining confidence with each movement. After a few minutes, he was walking around the training ground with ease, the leaf securely in place. Excellent work, Naruto-kun, Mito praised, clapping her hands. Your chakra control is quite impressive for someone who has been training on their own. Let's move on to something a bit more challenging, as she grabbed more leaves. Have these 2 leaves on your index fingers and do the same things that I just instructed you in. They spent the next hour working on various chakra control exercises, from having the leaf just on his forehead to being able to have 3 leaves on each hand as well as his forehead. Naruto struggled at first but quickly adapted, his determination shining through. Mito could see the raw potential in him and felt a surge of pride. You're doing wonderfully, Naruto-kun, Mito said, giving him an encouraging smile. You know it is pretty rare to find an Uzumaki that can use their chakra effectively, though that is likely because you do not have 3 tails of tailed beast chakra like your siblings. Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow, feeling exhilarated. Thank you, Lady Mito. I can't wait to learn more. After a brief rest, they resumed training. Mito got into the tiger fist style and so did Naruto, but his stance was way off. Hold on, Naruto-kun, your stance is completely off point, she said, walking to him and fixing it. But this is the stance Mizuki-sensei said to be in, he said, confused. Mito looked at him weirdly. Well, Naruto-kun, this Mizuki-sensei shouldn't be helping you because this is wrong here. Let me show you how to properly do it. Alright, Naruto-kun, now it's your turn, Mito said, stepping back to give him space. Naruto took a deep breath and mimicked Mito's movements. His form was rough, but his spirit was unwavering. Mito corrected his stance a few more times and guided him through the motions, her patience and encouragement helping him improve steadily. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the training ground, Hashirama called out to them from the house. "Dinner's ready!" Mito and Naruto headed back, their stomachs growling in anticipation. They sat down to a hearty meal prepared by Hashirama, who had gone all out to make Naruto feel welcome. The table was laden with various dishes, from roasted meats to fresh vegetables. After dinner, Naruto expressed his gratitude and bowed to them. Hashirama bent down on one to his level. "Naruto, don't refer to us as Lord or Lady, or as senseis. We are Hashirama and Mito to you, understand?" Naruto smiled a foxy smile and nodded. "I understand, Lord. I mean Hashirama and Mito," he said, hugging both and running, feeling the happiest he had ever felt. Hashirama got back up and laughed. "You know, if I wouldn't have known any better. He is like a mixture of both of us. He has my red hair," he said, laughing as Mito punched him in the shoulder. "This kid is a gold mine, Hashirama-kun. He has great chakra control for an Uzumaki. I deduced that was because he didn't have the Nine-Tails chakra inside of him like his siblings. From what I could sense, he has around high Chunin amounts of chakra, and they continue to grow. He has low Chunin chakra control from what you have seen and is very attentive to learning anything," she said before she thought of another subject. "Did you wood clones find anything?" she asked with him nodding. "I examined the compound and Kushina was training the lot of them. Soon after a while Tsunade started to train them as well as Minato. They didn't mention Naruto once." "They didn't? Do they not care for him or what? You should have seen his room, Mito-chan. It was bare. He had a bed, dresser, and a closet with little clothes in it, while his siblings were lavish and elegant," said Hashirama, ticked off, sitting on a bench. "They don't care if he is malnourished," she said, plopping herself down. "You know that fact, Tsunade-chan. I mean, Tsunade is in on this too. Both Tsunade and Kushina have broken Uzumaki and Senju clan laws. They hurt their own family and practically betrayed him. It would be different if Naruto was a missing ninja or something, but he is a child with nothing to do with it. Not to mention they have abused him, neglected him, and stunted a clan heir's growth as a shinobi," she said, getting angry with each word. "Yes, I know. There are multiple offenses against it. But we can't do anything now," said Hashirama. "Yes, we can," said Mito, sitting up with an idea. "I say we get as much evidence against them as possible, and we expose them for what they have done to their family. It would be everywhere. The fourth Hokage's child neglected for his siblings," she said. "Mito, that doesn't feel right." "It seems petty," said Hashirama. "You know, maybe you're right. But Hashi-kun, I can't see them as a family for what they have done. That's not the same Kushina-chan I raised after calamity struck in the land of whirlpools. That's not the same granddaughter I raised after her parents died. Oh God. I just want what is best for Naruto now. Neglect is not okay no matter who it is," she said, tearing up. "I know. Listen, what is best for now is we watch over the kid, and if something happens then we will do something to change Naruto for the better. This could be a phase they are going through. What if they train him later? But as I said, we will watch over the kid for the time being and see how this plays out," he said, rubbing her on the shoulder. "Let's at least get the evidence in case something happens." "We can use chakra recording seals," she offered. "Agreed. Don't you worry, Mitoheim. He will be all right with us," he said with her nodding. The Leaf Village, 2 weeks later. Hashirama and Mito had been working hard on how Naruto was so badly treated, and it turned out it wasn't just his family. It was most of the village. Civilians hated him for what they presumed was the fox. Mito knew for a fact the shinobi didn't hate him for the fox for one reason. Mito had taken it upon herself to show the shinobi that the fox was separate from the person. The civilians were a different matter because they simply did not understand chakra or even most ninja stuff in general. She couldn't blame them. But the shinobi looked at Naruto as if he was a disappointment of a clan heir, as he would never amount to anything. It irked them to no end. They knew that with time, the training that they were doing would turn others' opinions around. In the meantime, they would try not to kill anyone who said something bad about him. With Naruto, the dawn of a new day found Naruto standing in front of the Senju compound, ready to begin his new training schedule. The past 2 weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions and revelations, but for the first time in a long while, Naruto felt hopeful. Hashirama and Mito had treated him with kindness and respect, something he had craved for so long. Ready for another day of training, Naruto-kun? Mito's voice broke through his thoughts as she approached with a warm smile. Naruto nodded eagerly. Yes, Mito. I'm ready. They began with the morning exercises, Naruto pushing himself to his limits under Mito's watchful eye. She corrected his form, praised his efforts, and encouraged him to keep going. Hashirama joined them later, demonstrating advanced techniques and guiding Naruto through them with patient instruction. The afternoon brought more intensive training. Naruto practiced his taijutsu and ninjutsu, his movements becoming more fluid and powerful with each session. He also delved into chakra control exercises, mastering the ability to maintain focus while performing complex maneuvers. As the 2 weeks progressed, Naruto's confidence grew. He felt stronger, both physically and mentally. He still faced challenges, but the support and guidance from Hashirama and Mito made all the difference. They believed in him, and that belief fueled his determination to succeed. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Naruto sat with Mito in the garden. The moonlight bathed the area in a soft glow, creating a serene atmosphere. Mito, can I ask you something? Naruto said hesitantly. Of course, Naruto-kun. You can ask me anything, Mito replied, her voice gentle. Why do you and Hashirama care so much about me? I mean, I know we're family, but it feels different, Naruto said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Mito sighed softly, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. Naruto-kun, you are a part of our family, but more importantly, you are a remarkable child. You have endured so much and yet still strive to improve and make those around you proud. That kind of strength and determination is rare. Hashirama and I see your potential, and we want to help you realize it. Naruto felt a lump in his throat, touched by Mito's words. Thank you, Mito. That means a lot to me, Mito smiled warmly. You are very welcome, Naruto-kun. Now, let's get some rest. Tomorrow is another big day. As they headed back inside, Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. He was determined to make the most of this opportunity, and prove himself worthy of the faith that Hashirama and Mito had placed in him. He continued to train with the help of Mito and Hashirama teaching him. Funny enough, he liked to learn about history. The thing that Hashirama said to him though was those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. He thought it made sense because there were so many wars. He was in the middle of a lesson when he thought of something on his mind for a while. Hashirama. How old are you and Mito? Hashirama looked confused at first and asked. How old do you think we are? He asked. I'd say like 35, he said, making the two of them giggle. Oh, Hashi-kun, this is a perfect time to tell him about the clan aging, she said excitedly. He nodded in agreement and started to tell him. Naruto, we are 83 years old each, he said, making his jaw drop. How? Was all he asked, and Mito started to explain. Naruto, we Uzumaki and Senju alike age much slower than other people. Normally how aging works is people with more chakra will age slower, but we age differently. We never have had an answer, but it is more of a bloodline thing. Some Uzumaki and Senju have lived for over 130 years and still look like they were barely 50. So, my siblings and I will live a long time? He asked. Yes, you will. But you mustn't tell everyone. It is a very well-kept secret, she said with Naruto nodding. Anyway, let us get back to learning about the founding of the Leaf Village, said Hashirama. Guys, asked Naruto. The two of them looked at him with curiosity. Something that I haven't told everyone because I am afraid of what people will think is I would like to be Hokage. Kinda like, Dad. I want to be a Hokage that brings peace to the lands and protects them, you know, he said out of the blue. Hashirama and Mito exchanged surprised but pleased glances at Naruto's declaration. Hashirama leaned forward, his expression thoughtful and encouraging. Naruto-kun, that's a very noble ambition. The role of Hokage is one of great responsibility and honor. It's not just about leading the village, but also about ensuring the safety and well-being of all its people. Mito nodded in agreement, her eyes twinkling with pride. Your desire to bring peace and protect others shows a deep sense of compassion and courage. Those are essential qualities for a Hokage. But remember, becoming Hokage is not just about strength or skill, it's about leadership, wisdom, and understanding. Naruto listened intently, absorbing every word. I understand. I know I have a lot to learn, and I'm willing to work hard for it. I just want to make a difference, you know? Hashirama placed a reassuring hand on Naruto's shoulder. And you will, Naruto. With the determination and heart you've shown, there's no doubt you can achieve your dream. But be patient with yourself. Becoming a great leader takes time and experience. Mito smiled warmly. Indeed. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. You have allies and mentors who believe in you and are willing to support you. Naruto's eyes sparkled with gratitude and resolve. Thank you. I'll work hard and make sure to learn everything I can from you both. With that, they continued with the lessons to make sure that Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze would be a bright young leading shinobi for future generations. Naruto could not believe 1 year had passed since his training started with Mito and Hashirama. He had grown fond of them, and he appreciated everything. He had grown quite a bit as well. He was standing at a proud 4 feet 3 inches tall, just above average, from his eating habits with the Senju and Uzumaki. He had learned so much from the two shinobi. He had been practicing calligraphy for so long that Irika complimented him for having the best handwriting in the class. He just started a couple of weeks ago on how to make some seals such as storage scrolls. He had learned about history and mathematics, which helped him in the accuracy of weapon throwing. Mito and Hashirama had helped him with ninjutsu, taijutsu, and chakra control. He had learned how to do tree walking about a few months ago, but Mito said he needs to develop his chakra coils a little more to learn the other exercises. Naruto was also a sensor, much to Mito's happiness. Naruto had an Uzumaki sensor ability. He was just beginning, but he was able to sense the chakra of people even if it was 100 feet away. He could do the substitution jutsu and henge without issues now, but he physically could not make a clone. That was where Mito stepped in and told him that Uzumaki, Senju, or people with incredibly high chakra reserves had a difficult time trying to make a regular clone. So, she had taught him a jutsu called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. It would divide his chakra in half for everyone he made one. He had made 100 clones when he meant he had a lot of chakras. She had also told him that they could transfer memories back to the original, and Naruto was happy to speed up his training. But Mito told him no because what she said about his chakra coils needed to mature beforehand. Sadly, he had improved in these areas, but it felt like his family was more divided. He kept asking his family for training, but it was becoming less and less over time. His siblings had noticed his progression, and they had resented him a little more than usual. He didn't understand it because he was doing it for them so that they could be proud he was catching up. He was just tired of receiving the looks of disappointment from Menma, Naomi, and Keed. He still loved his family, but it hurt him to not have the same love returned to him. Why don't they understand? Naruto mumbled to himself, his small fists clenched in frustration. I'm doing all of this for them. The vibrant greenery of the Senju compound offered a stark contrast to the storm brewing within him. Despite the peaceful surroundings, Naruto felt anything but calm. The constant pressure to prove himself, coupled with the growing distance between him and his family, was taking its toll. He sighed, kicking a small pebble down the path as he continued to walk. Mito had told him countless times to be patient, to trust that his efforts would bear fruit in time. But it was hard to believe that when his family seemed to be drifting further away with each passing day, his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Naruto looked up to see Hashirama walking towards him with a warm smile on his face. Hey Naruto! You seem deep in thought, Hashirama said, ruffling the boy's hair affectionately. Yeah, just thinking about stuff, he said. Hashirama sighed and took him by the hand. Come on Naruto, we are going on a trip around the leaf, he said, walking with him. You know, Naruto, it's okay to talk about what's bothering you. Keeping it all inside will only make things harder. Naruto hesitated, the urge to confide in Hashirama warring with his instinct to keep his feelings to himself. He trusted Hashirama and Mito, but he didn't want to burden them with his problems. They had already done so much for him. I don't get why my family is acting like this, Naruto finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm trying so hard to get stronger, to make them proud, but it feels like they're just pushing me away even more. Hashirama's smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of understanding. It's tough, isn't it? Wanting to be close to your family but feeling like you're growing apart? Naruto nodded, his eyes downcast. Yeah. I thought if I got stronger, they'd finally see me as their equal, but now they seem to hate me even more. Hashirama placed a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder as they walked. Sometimes, people react in ways we don't expect. Your siblings might be feeling insecure or threatened by your progress. It's not that they don't care about you, but they might not know how to express their feelings. Naruto looked up at Hashirama, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. So, you think they'll come around? Hashirama smiled gently. I believe they will, with time. But for now, focus on your growth. Keep working hard, not just for them, but for yourself too. You're doing great, Naruto. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Even though Hashirama said this, he particularly didn't believe it. He did because, at the end of the day, his family could make a 180 and start to help him. But he couldn't bring it to tell him that even if his family is blood-related they might not be his family. However, he and Mito wanted Naruto to make the choice himself if he wanted to be with them or not be with them. He wanted him to make the decision. Good Lord. Tobirama must be rolling in his grave seeing me like this. I just hope he understands this is Naruto's decision. I don't want to force him to stop seeing his family, but he must learn for himself, he thought. Say, Hashirama, asked Naruto. He looked down at him as they walked over a bridge. What was your brother like? Lord Second. Hashirama laughed at this. Oh my God, we would also butt heads. There wasn't a day that went by that we did. But at the end of the day, we loved each other. I always found it funny because I was the oldest child, and he was the second born after me. But I had a very positive outlook on life when he was sometimes cold and calculating when it should have been the opposite. Deep down, though, he was a gentle man. Deep down, though, I can be cold and calculating like him, he said, smiling at the memories of him and his brother. So, Lord Tobirama wasn't a quiet and cold man. The reason I ask is because we talked about him in the academy. No, he wasn't. Sometimes he was, but that was in front of important people. He had been like that since. I suppose I should tell you that. You are likely to talk about the Warring States period in class soon. The Warring States period? It was a time before the Leaf was founded, and there was lots of bloodshed. Children as young as 10, 9, and even 8 and 7 years old were fighting. This was a war between clans and other ninjas, he said, thinking about his time when he was a kid. They traversed through the park getting looks of excitement as the first Hokage walked with a red-headed child with whiskers. That sounds horrible, said Naruto. That is why I made it a law during peace that the graduation age is 12 years old. It used to be 10 years of age, but my brother increased it to give children a childhood like we would have wanted. There were some exceptions with prodigies and the like, but during times of war, it is lowered to 10 years old. Anyway, it was me, my father, and 3 brothers. You had 2 other brothers? Asked Naruto, shocked. Hashirama nodded solemnly. Itama and Kawarama. They died before they had reached double digits. My father died too shortly after. Hashirama's expression grew somber as he recalled those dark days. Yes, it was just the 2 of us after that. Tobirama and I had to grow up fast, and we had to rely on each other more than ever. I think that's why we ended up so different. He became the serious one, focused on survival and strategy, while I tried to find hope wherever I could. I wanted to create a world where no child would have to endure what we did. Naruto listened intently, his young mind trying to grasp the weight of Hashirama's words. That must have been really hard, losing your brothers like that. It was, Hashirama admitted, his voice tinged with sadness. But it also made me more determined to build a better world. That's why I founded the Leaf Village so that the next generation wouldn't have to face the same horrors. But even with all that, I never stopped loving Tobirama. He was my brother, and we were all each other's. That is why I think you will be a great Hokage in the future, Naruto. You want true peace and power to make peace like certain other villages have done, said Hashirama. They were silent after that, but Naruto asked another question. Hashirama, Naruto began, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Do you think I can be as strong as you someday? Strong enough to protect the village and the people I care about? Hashirama chuckled softly, ruffling Naruto's hair again. I do not doubt it, Naruto. You've got the heart of a true shinobi, and with time, you'll find your strength. But remember, being strong isn't just about power. It's about how you use that power to help others, to bring people together. That's what makes a great shinobi, and a great Hokage. They were turning to make their way back to the park when 10 shinobi landed around the two of them. Hashirama went into protective mode when they landed, putting Naruto right to his back. They were stone shinobi. We do not have a quarrel with you, first Hokage. We want the child of that damned fourth Hokage, he said, pointing a sword at Naruto, who was scared out of his mind. Naruto's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the 10 stone shinobi surrounding him and Hashirama. The gravity of the situation bore down on him, his mind racing with a mix of fear and confusion. Why were these shinobi after him? And why now? Hashirama's protective stance was unyielding, his usually gentle demeanor replaced by the steely resolve of a man who had seen countless battles. The air around them crackled with the suppressed energy of a confrontation about to erupt. You're making a grave mistake, Hashirama said, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge of authority. This child is under my protection, and I will not allow any harm to come to him. The lead stone shinobi, a man with a scar running down the length of his face, sneered in response. We don't care about your protection, Senju. The child must pay for the sins of his father. The fourth Hokage caused untold suffering to our village, and we will have our revenge. Naruto's stomach churned at the mention of his father. He knew Minato was a hero in the Leaf Village, but hearing the hatred in the stone shinobi's voice made him realize just how deep the scars of war ran. He felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. This wasn't fair. He was being targeted for something he had no control over. Hashirama's gaze didn't waver as he replied, blaming a child for the actions of a parent is a cowardly act. If you have grievances with the fourth Hokage, you should have settled them with him directly, but you won't touch this boy. The tension in the air thickened as both sides prepared for the inevitable clash. The stone shinobi spread out, preparing to attack from multiple angles. Hashirama's chakra flared, his presence becoming more imposing as he readied himself for battle. Naruto, Hashirama said quietly, without turning around, stay close to me. No matter what happens, trust me. Naruto nodded, his fear slightly tempered by the confidence in Hashirama's voice. He had seen the first Hokage in action during their training sessions, but this was different. This was a real battle, and lives were on the line. Without warning, the stone shinobi launched their attack. Several of them rushed forward, weapons drawn, while others began weaving hand signs, preparing to unleash jutsu. Hashirama moved with the fluidity of a seasoned warrior, his hands blurring as he formed a series of rapid hand seals. In an instant, wooden tendrils burst from the ground, snaking toward the attackers with incredible speed. The tendrils wrapped around the weapons of the advancing shinobi, disarming them effortlessly, while others created barriers to block the incoming jutsu. One of the stone shinobi managed to slip past the wooden defenses, lunging at Naruto with a kunai. Time seemed to slow as Naruto saw the glint of the blade coming toward him. Instinctively, he tried to move, but the fear rooted him to the spot. Before the blade could reach him, Hashirama was there, intercepting the attack with a swipe of his hand. The kunai shattered against his iron-hard skin, sending fragments flying. With a swift motion, Hashirama knocked the shinobi back, sending him crashing into a nearby tree. Is that all you've got? Hashirama's voice was calm, almost disappointed, as he glanced at the remaining attackers. I expected more from shinobi who dared to challenge a Hokage. The lead stone shinobi snarled, frustration evident in his eyes. Don't underestimate us, first Hokage. We'll take down both you and the boy. As the stone shinobi regrouped, preparing for a second wave of attacks, Hashirama shifted his stance slightly, his gaze sharp and focused. He launched out with spears as he pinned more and more of the shinobi to the trees. Naruto was trying to control his breath as Hashirama fought them off. After the last shinobi was dealt with, Naruto saw Hashirama walk up to the shinobi with a darker aura around him. For your crimes against the child of a Hokage and attempting to harm a previous Hokage, you will be put on trial, he said, grabbing his shirt and putting him to his face. Naruto watched on as Hashirama intimated the stone shinobi, but he didn't notice the shinobi who had his legs broken grab a kunai preparing to throw it at him. The stone shinobi that Hashirama was intimidating was laughing as he looked at Naruto. He turned around to see the kunai was thrown and he had no time to react. "Naruto!" he yelled out, launching himself at him because his Wujutsu wouldn't be fast enough. Naruto looked out of the corner of his eye to see the kunai coming at him, and his heart dropped. Naruto closed his eyes and clasped his hands as a wooden pillar erected in front of him. The pillar had blocked the kunai and Hashirama knocked at the two still awake stone shinobi. Naruto, who still had his eyes closed, opened them to see he had a pillar in front of him. Maybe Hashirama had used it. Naruto was still breathing rapidly as Hashirama ran behind him to embrace him as he did the same. "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay," said Hashirama soothingly as he held him tightly. Hashirama wiped a tear of his own as he continued to hold the redhead. Naruto had streams of tears falling as he cried in Hashirama's chest. After a few more seconds, it had registered in Hashirama's mind that he had not summoned that pillar. It was Naruto. Naruto had with style, the same Kekai Genkai as him. He looked at him, and had a world of emotions hit him. Excitement, happiness, and thankfulness for him being alright and that Naruto was just like him. He continued to look at Naruto as memories of a crying Hashirama at 8 years old flooded into his mind during the Warring States period. After a few more seconds Naruto had passed out in his arms from the overwhelming moment. 3 Umbu had shown up after the burst of chakra they felt. "Lord Hashirama, what happened?" the leader asked. It was Tenzo, and he looked at the knocked-out stone shinobi. "The stone ninjas were here for Naruto. Take them to the TI department, and don't hold back. I will take him to the hospital. Notify the Hokage," he said as he teleported to the hospital. He had run into the hospital asking for help to check him over. He sat in the medium-sized hospital room for a while waiting for someone to come. He had one thought on his mind. "This is why I had the village created. So that children didn't have to bear with this." He could only hope that he didn't have nightmares from this. Then there was something about Naruto using wood style. He was interrupted from his thoughts when Mito barged in. "Is he okay?" she asked, running to his side, running medical ninjutsu through him. "His chakra is lower than normal but not deadly," she sighed thankfully. She rubbed her eye away from Hashirama, meaning she was crying. She didn't want Naruto to be hurt. Tsunade had run into the room, bringing in Menma, Naomi, and Kid, who had a few scrapes but were no less fine. The fact that there were more stone shinobi that attacked all the children was mind-boggling to everyone. Mito continued to channel her medical chakra into Naruto, her worry evident in the furrow of her brows. Hashirama sat beside her, his large hand resting on Naruto's, gently squeezing it for comfort. He could feel Mito's worry, her determination to make sure Naruto was all right. They had both grown so attached to him over the past year, and the thought of him being hurt, especially due to an attack meant for someone else, was unbearable. Kushina was fussing over the other 3 children, which irked Mito to no end. She started to get a tick mark on her head before forcing herself to be calm. She said, "Kushina, Naruto was also attacked," making her raise her head to see him, but saw nothing on him. "He looks fine." "We were attacked by 15 stone shinobi at the house," she said, pulling on Naomi's. Mito took a deep breath so that she wouldn't beat the shit out of her here and now. "Well, you should know that Naruto has slight chakra exhaustion and you're lucky Naruto had Hashirama with him, otherwise he would have been dead," she said calmly. "Good lord, he is fine," she said, waving her hand nonchalantly. Hashirama placed a hand on Mito's shoulder, who was now shaking with rage. Minato had run into the room wondering what had happened. Hashirama said, "Naruto and I were on a walk when 10 stone shinobi attacked us. The reason Naruto has chakra exhaustion is that he burst his chakra to alert the Umbu that we were in trouble. After all, that is what I asked of him, and from what Kushina said there were 15 stone shinobi that attacked them," he said calmly. He looked at Kid, Naomi, and Menma and sighed in relief. He looked at Naruto, who looked tired, and sighed. Hashirama caught this and remarked, "At least he fussed about Naruto even if it was slight." "Alright, if that is it, I will likely be in TI with the alive stone shinobi," he said, rubbing all of his kids' hair except Naruto. Kushina soon followed suit, but Menma scowled at the unconscious Naruto and muttered the word weak. Hashirama held Mito back as they were the only two in the room still there. I'll show him who is weak, she said, struggling against her husband. It's not worth it, he said, seeing Naruto open his eyes slowly. Hashirama shushed her, and she looked to see Naruto awaken. Ouch. I'm sore and I didn't even do anything, he said, sitting up. Hashirama and Mito both leaned closer as Naruto slowly sat up, blinking away the remnants of his fatigue. Hashirama's heart ached as he saw the confusion and exhaustion in the boy's eyes. Mito, her hand still glowing with residual medical chakra, gently placed it on Naruto's shoulder, soothing some of his discomfort. You've been through a lot today, Naruto, Hashirama said softly, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. But you were very brave. You did everything right. Naruto looked between them, his young mind struggling to piece together everything that had happened. He remembered the fear, the stone shinobi, the kunai flying toward him, and then, the wooden pillar. His eyes widened slightly as he recalled the wood springing up to protect him. Did I do that? Naruto asked hesitantly, his voice trembling as he said the sentence. Did he do what? She asked. Hashirama grabbed onto them and teleported them back home to the couch in the living room on the compound and put up a silencing seal. He used the Wujutsu, Mito-chan, he said, making her go wide eyes. What? She shouted out, making them cover their ears. Yes, he did. It wasn't me who did it. Mito jumped up and ran to another room. You could hear her rummaging through stuff. She had run back out with a white piece of paper. Naruto-kun, this is chakra paper, she said, giggling excitedly. It shows what we like to call elemental affinities. Just channel chakra through it. He did as she asked as he took the paper. Hashirama and Mito watched as the paper split down the middle and each of the other papers got wet and crumbled to dust. Mito squealed with happiness as she picked him up and flung him around. Naruto started to laugh, but he didn't know why. Is that good because I'm confused? He asked. I'll just explain it to you, Naruto, he said. How elemental affinities are is like this. You put your chakra into the paper, and it will have a different result because of your affinity. There are 5 basic elements, and if it burns, you have fire, if it gets wet, it is water, if it turns to dust, it is earth, if it splits, it is wind, and if it crinkles, it is lightning. You have wind, water, and earth. It's extraordinary. Mito, still holding Naruto, was practically buzzing with excitement. Extraordinary doesn't even begin to describe it. Naruto-kun, you have not 1, but 3 elemental affinities, and on top of that, you have wood style, she said. She then sighed as she stopped squeezing him. You will have to keep it a secret though. Why? He asked. Because wood style is something only I have ever been born with. Ever. If anyone were to get wind of it, they would likely kidnap you and use you for your DNA, he said, making Naruto slightly upset. So is wood style a Genkai Kekai? He asked, making him chuckle. Kekai Genkai. It means one person, or a family bloodline has it exclusively. But the thing is, you are an Uzumaki, and you have no Senju blood in you, but the Uzumaki clan and the Senju clan are distant relatives, he said, thinking. No matter though, we will have to keep it a secret, understand? We will talk more about this later, he said, making him nod in return. You should go get some rest, Naruto-kun, said Mito, rubbing his back. He nodded as he yawned, and she took him to a bed where he would often take naps. Mito lay him down and made her way back to Hashirama, who was on the couch. I can't believe he has the same Kekai Genkai as you, honey, she said, smiling the most she had in a while. I know, and some other good news that came in today, he said, sifting through the mail and handing it to her. Mito-chan, we have been approved by the Fire Daimyo to go to court in the capital against the Namikaze family as well as Jiraiya and Swanda. That is also the same time we will fight for custody of Naruto, he said, with her hugging him in delight. This is great. When do we get in? She asked excitedly. Even though I was a Hokage, we don't get some type of favoritism. We will have to wait until around the time of Naruto graduating from the academy, so 4 years. Mito pouted but then asked another question. So will they be notified of this? I have made sure they will be let know of what happens 2 weeks prior, he said, smiling at the thought of seeing them receive the consequences for what they have done, and still do. Oh, and don't forget that Naruto has taijutsu spars this Friday in 4 days. We should go and cheer him on and see what happens, she said, getting up and looking at the calendar. Sounds good, he said, sighing. I just wish Naruto would realize he would be better with just us, and not them. I can't look at Tsunade and Minato the same way I used to anymore. I wish I had never nominated him to be the fourth. Mito nodded sadly. She couldn't see Swana the same way either, or Kushina. They are heading down a path that will be bad for them. I am sure that you see him the same way I do. But I see Naruto as Hanaku. I see him as another son. He acts more like us than his parents, he said with her, nodding and crossing his arms. Only time will tell though, he said, getting up and hugging her. 4 days later. Welcome one and all to the taijutsu spars, said Iruka as he announced to the crowd. Parents of clan heads, Minato, Kushina, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Hashirama, and Mito were all ready to see the fights. First up is Shikamaru Nara versus Chuji Akimichi. Troublesome, I don't want to do it, he said, leaning back on the bleachers to relax. Yoshino Nara had her eye twitching as she looked at her husband with anger. Troublesome, don't look at me. It must be your side of the family, he said as he was smacked on the back of the head, making some of the parents laugh. Next up is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze versus Menma Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto's eyes widened at this. He was nervous to fight his brother because he hadn't ever won against him. As Naruto stepped into the arena, the weight of the moment pressed heavily on his small shoulders. The cheers of the crowd around him were deafening, but he felt utterly alone. He glanced up to see the proud faces of his parents, Minato and Kushina, both of whom were cheering enthusiastically. But for Menma, Naruto felt a pang of sadness deep in his chest, knowing that he would have to face his brother who had always been favored. He looked over to see Mito and Hashirama, who smiled at him, waving while doing so. Menma stood across from Naruto with a smirk on his face, brimming with confidence. He had always been the stronger one, the one praised for his talent and potential. Menma's eyes gleamed with a competitive fire, and there was no doubt in his mind that he would win this fight easily. Naruto, on the other hand, was filled with doubt, but he pushed those feelings aside, determined to prove himself, if not to his family, then to himself. Are you ready, Naruto? Iruka's voice cut through Naruto's thoughts, snapping him back to the present. Naruto nodded, steeling himself for the fight ahead. He knew Menma would come at him with everything he had, and Naruto had to be prepared. He might not have won before, but this time, he would give it his all. He couldn't let the pressure get to him. Begin! Iruka shouted, signaling the start of the match. Menma wasted no time. He lunged at Naruto with an almost blinding speed, throwing a series of rapid punches aimed at his brother's torso. Naruto barely had time to react, his body moving on instinct as he dodged and blocked as best as he could. The force behind Menma's attacks was overwhelming, and Naruto could feel the strength behind each blow. Menma had trained hard, and it showed. Naruto's movements were more defensive, his smaller stature making him nimble. He dodged Menma's kicks and punches, but he was clearly on the back foot. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the inevitable outcome. Menma's reputation as the stronger brother was well known, and everyone expected him to dominate the match. As the fight continued, Naruto felt his energy waning. He was giving it everything he had, but Menma was relentless. A well-aimed punch from Menma caught Naruto off guard, hitting him square in the stomach and knocking the wind out of him. Naruto staggered back, gasping for breath, but Menma didn't let up. He followed up with a sweeping kick that sent Naruto crashing to the ground. The crowd erupted into cheers, most of them praising Menma's skill. Minato and Kushina exchanged proud smiles, clearly pleased with their son's performance. But in the back of the crowd, Hashirama and Mito watched with concern. They could see that Naruto was struggling, but there was a fire in his eyes that they recognized, one that reminded them of the determination they had seen in themselves many years ago. Get up, Naruto! Hashirama murmured under his breath, his fists clenched as he silently urged the boy to keep fighting. Naruto pushed himself up slowly, his body aching from the beating he had taken. He could feel the sting of tears in his eyes, but he blinked them away. He couldn't cry, not here, not now. This was his chance to show everyone that he wasn't weak, that he wasn't just a shadow of his brother. He had to keep going, no matter how much it hurt. You're weak, Naruto, Menma taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. You should just give up now. Naruto's heart clenched at Menma's words, but instead of backing down, something inside him snapped. The frustration, the anger, and the pain of years of neglect bubbled up inside him, and he felt a surge of energy that he hadn't felt before. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time in the fight, he didn't feel afraid. He felt determined. I'm not giving up! Naruto shouted, his voice echoing across the arena. With a burst of speed that surprised even himself, Naruto launched himself at Menma, catching his brother off guard. He threw a punch with all his might, aiming for Menma's smug face. Menma barely had time to react, his eyes widening in shock as Naruto's fist connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling back. The crowd gasped in surprise, a murmur of disbelief rippling through the audience. No one had expected Naruto to land a hit, least of all Menma. For a moment, Naruto felt a flicker of pride. He had done it. He had landed a hit on his brother. But Menma quickly recovered, his expression twisting into one of fury. He couldn't believe that Naruto had dared to strike him, and the embarrassment of being hit in front of everyone fueled his anger. With a snarl, Menma charged Naruto with renewed aggression, determined to put his brother in his place once and for all. Naruto barely had time to react as Menma's attacks became even more ferocious. Menma was no longer holding back, and Naruto could feel the difference. Each blow was like a hammer, and Naruto struggled to keep up. He dodged and blocked as best as he could, but Menma's speed and strength were overwhelming. Then, without warning, Naruto sent a kick right across the face of his brother, knocking him out of the arena as well as knocking him out. The crowd was silent for a few seconds. Naruto had jumped up in the air celebrating with joy. He soon had a few claps and cheers from some of the shinobi parents who thought it was a good match. Hashirama and Mito were very proud of Naruto, they would have to tell him later. Minato and Kushina went down to the arena to check on Menma, who was slowly getting up from that hit. Minato turned to Naruto with an angry look on his face. What is wrong with you, Naruto? He asked, upset. Nothing, I finally beat Menma, he cheered out. I don't care that you won. You could have seriously hurt your brother, he said, anger present on his face. Naruto wasn't sure what to do as he had everyone watching him. Kushina then got into his face, and her hair started to rise above her head. You got some nerve, young man. You should be disappointed in yourself. You get some kind of sick thrill from hurting your family. Apologize to him now, she said, pointing at him. Sorry, Menma, he said on the verge of tears. Minato and Kushina walked away with Menma. He got looks of disgust from the civilians while the shinobi were just confused. This was a proper match. Hashirama put the recording down and whispered to Mito, the chakra recording is stopped. I didn't think that would happen, I was using it for footage about how Naruto can improve himself, he said as she looked at Naruto, who went to the bleachers and sat down wiping some tears away. He had finally beaten his brother, who he always lost to, and still didn't get praise. Naomi and Kid shook their heads at them and returned to talking to each other. Iruka looked at Naruto with concern and walked over to him. Naruto, take the rest of the day off. I am proud of how you fought, he smiled at him, ruffling the boy's hair. Naruto smiled slightly and walked over to Hashirama and Mito, who praised him rightly. That was amazing, Naruto, your taijutsu is amazing, and that was just the academy style, said Hashirama, ruffling his hair. Mito grabbed his hand and started to walk away, making other shinobi clan heads look on in confusion. They would have thought he would have been like that with his parents, but they guessed not. How about we go and get some ramen, Naruto? I think that is enough learning and training for today, she said, smiling at him. He nodded slightly, still thinking about what happened. More and more doubts filtered into his mind that his family wouldn't help him. He then looked to see Mito and Hashirama smiling at him, and he smiled in return. At least he had them as family. 1.5 years later, Naruto smiled as he finished the last step in something that he had been working on as a surprise for Hashirama and Mito as well as his family. He had learned so much under the two of them now that he felt amazing as an individual and a shinobi. They trained him not so much as a ninja but as a person. They had told him to make friends in the academy no matter what, and he had become friends with the Ino Shikacho trio as well as Shino Aburame. The 5 of them would hang out at least once a week, and Naruto felt nice to have friends. Ino has had a crush on Menma for the longest time, but it has toned down since they hung out with each other. What Hashirama and Mito did, however, was secretly have a meeting with the 4 clan heads of the children to let them know what has been happening ever since then, and they despise Minato with passion. The Nara, Yamanaka, Abirame, and Akimichi clan heads have only treated the family and Sannin with respect as shinobi but not as people. They wanted their help in being witnesses for Naruto when the day came that they would go to the Fire Daimyo court. Granted, Naruto did not know about that, but they still had time. Naruto walked up to Mito and Hashirama, who were reading in the back, when Naruto called them. "Hey, Hashirama, Mito, I have something to show you," he said, getting his hands ready. Hashirama stared at Naruto with a smile as well as Mito. Ever since that day, he summoned the pillar. He hasn't been able to do it since. Hashirama wasn't worried because Naruto hadn't started with elemental ninjutsu yet, and that was just likely a response when he was in danger. He saw Naruto walk up with some of the Senju compound clothing he used when he was training. It was a tan long sleeve with black pants with the Senju clan symbol on the back and the Uzumaki clan symbol on the front. He was proud of what he had learned, and he was turning 10 years old the next day. He was a level 2 beginner in Fuinjutsu, and he was just a kid. His chakra control was some of the best he had seen, and Mito was debating on teaching him some of her medical jutsu to help him become a combat medic like she was. He had learned the Tidal Fist, a taijutsu style used by the Uzumaki clan, and he had yet to master it completely. He was also able to summon a shadow clone with half a ram's seal as well as use the Academy Jutsu except for the clone without hand seals. He would be taught about clan laws and rules when he turned 10 so he could be prepared to be a clan head one day. Mito couldn't wait until then so that he could be ready to take over from here when the day came, but that would be at least a decade until then. "This is what I have learned in my secret training," he said, giving a wink, making the two of them chuckle. He stuck out his hand and a blue ball of chakra formed out in front of him. The two went wide-eyed as they saw this and smiled. "Naruto, that's the Rasengan," said Hashirama as he gaped at it. Naruto dissipated it and smiled at him. "Yes, sir, I learned it in 5 days to boot," he said, giving a thumbs up. "I am hoping to show my family, so that they can be proud of what I did. I am the Namikaze clan heir after all, so it is natural to learn Dad's jutsu," he said, hesitating. Mito and Hashirama smiled slightly but hated to see him like this. At this point, the two of them had cut themselves off from their family and dropped them. Mito exchanged a glance with Hashirama, her heart heavy with concern. Naruto was trying so hard to earn his parents' approval, but she knew how futile that effort was. Minato and Kushina were too focused on their other children to see the gem that Naruto had become. But for now, she decided to focus on Naruto's growth and happiness. "Naruto, we are so proud of you," Mito said, kneeling to his eye level. "You've accomplished something incredible. The Rasengan is not an easy jutsu, and mastering it in just 5 days shows how talented you are." Hashirama nodded in agreement. "You're growing stronger every day, Naruto. But remember, your worth isn't defined by your ability to master jutsu or gain recognition from others, even your parents. You are special because of who you are." Naruto's smile faltered a little as he looked away. "But wouldn't it be nice if they noticed me too? Just once, I want them to see me, really see me." Mito felt a pang of sorrow but kept her tone light. "They'll see you when it matters the most. Trust me, Naruto. You don't need to prove anything to them. You've already proven yourself to us and your friends." "Yeah, I guess so," Naruto murmured, trying to convince himself as much as them. "Tell you what, this is the last time. If they don't see me for me, then I'll move on," he said to himself quietly. "Just please be careful, Naruto," said Mito, rubbing his arm with him, nodding. "How about we eat supper quick and read some, and then we can read a bit, and we call it a day. We have something special for your birthday tomorrow," she said. After supper, Naruto waved to them as he ran back to his compound, hoping that this would work and that this would be the day. He brought a chakra recorder and put on his clothes so that he could see their reaction. "This will be awesome," he said to himself as he opened the compound door. He looked to see Minma, Naomi, and Kid eating dinner and chatting away with Tsunade and Jiraiya, while Minato, Kakashi, and Kushina chatted between themselves. Naruto got up to be next to his mom and dad. Naruto walked over to his parents with a mix of hope and nerves. "Hey Mom, Dad," he greeted, trying to sound casual. I've been working on something I'd like to show you. Kushina glanced up briefly from her conversation with Minato, her eyes lighting up with a bit of interest. Minato looked up as well, his expression unreadable but attentive. Naruto took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves as he prepared to show them his achievement. He focused and formed the Rasengan once again, the blue sphere of spinning chakra floating in his palm. Minato's eyes widened slightly, and Kushina's jaw dropped. For a moment, the room fell silent as the gravity of Naruto's accomplishment sank in. Minato was the first to break the silence. Naruto, you learned the Rasengan? Yes, I did, he said, smiling in victory. He then felt pain on his ribs. He was then flung to the wall by a punch from Minato. Minato stormed over to him as well as Kushina. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. How did you learn that jutsu? He asked in anger. From the scroll in the library, he said, trying to catch his breath but receiving another punch from Minato in the ribs, feeling something break. Minato picked him up and spat with anger. You went into the library and grabbed something that was not meant for you. That was supposed to be for your siblings to learn, not you, he growled out. Naruto was crying now, tears streaming down his face. Kushina then smacked him across the face. Quit crying, god damn it. You brought this upon yourself. You are what is wrong with this family. I did not teach you to selfishly steal jutsu from the library for your use, she said, smacking him once more, his cheek bleeding. The Rasengan, once a symbol of his hard work and determination, now felt like a cursed reminder of his failure. The joy he had hoped to share with his family had been shattered, replaced by a deep, wrenching sense of betrayal and rejection. Kushina's face was a mask of cold anger. Do you think you're special just because you learned a jutsu that was intended for your siblings? Naruto tried to speak, but the pain made it hard to focus. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to show you all that I could do. I wanted to make you proud. Minato's eyes narrowed. Proud? You've only shown us that you're disobedient and selfish. Your actions have consequences, Naruto, and you need to learn that. You failed us as a son. From this day on you are no longer the heir to the Uzumaki or Namikaze clan, he said, letting go of his grip around his neck and dropping him. Naruto took a deep breath and ran as fast as he could to his room. Then who will be the heirs? Asked Kid. Minato smiled and rubbed her head. This was going to be your birthday present, but Kid, you will be the heiress to the Uzumaki clan and apprenticed under Tswanda. Naomi, you will be the heiress to the Namikaze clan and apprenticed under Jiraiya. Menli, you will be apprenticed under me so that you will become the Hokage far in the future. We need someone who knows what comes with the position after the Hokage, who will come after me, of course. I imagine that you will be the 6th or 7th Hokage, he said, chuckling at their reaction. Naruto leaped out of his bedroom window, staggering as he tried to keep moving, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he pushed through the pain. Every step sent a jolt of agony through his body, but he refused to stop. He needed to get away, to find solace and comfort in the only place where he truly felt accepted, the Senju compound. His vision was blurring, darkness creeping in from the edges as he fought to stay conscious. He had given everything to prove himself to his family, to earn their love and respect. But instead of the pride and acceptance he had longed for, he was met with anger, violence, and rejection. The words of his parents echoed in his mind, each one like a dagger to his heart. You failed us as a son. You're no longer the heir. The finality of those statements weighed heavily on him, more painful than the physical injuries he had sustained. Naruto's legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the ground, struggling to catch his breath. His chest felt tight, the pain in his ribs making it difficult to inhale. He could taste the metallic tang of blood in his mouth, and he knew that he was in serious trouble. But even as his body screamed at him to stop, his mind was focused on one thing: getting to the Senju compound, to his true family. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to get up. The world around him was fading in and out, his vision darkening with each passing second. He could barely see where he was going, but he knew the way by heart. The Senju compound had always been his sanctuary, a place where he felt valued and loved, where Hashirama and Mito treated him as an equal, not as an outcast. He had finally reached the gates and smiled as he coughed up blood to throw at the seal for it to open. A 30-minute walk took nearly an hour and a half. The gates shut behind him as he collapsed to the ground. Inside the Senju compound, I can't believe it's bedtime already. Time just seems to fly by, said Mito, putting on her nightgown. Hashirama sensed something and went to the door. What is wrong, Han? She asked. Oh, nothing, Naruto just opened the gate. I am sure he is spending the night again, he said, going to the main door. He put on a shirt and opened the front door to see Naruto on the ground, his mouth covered in blood. Hashirama's heart dropped, and he rushed to him. He rolled him over and started tapping his face. Naruto. Naruto. Answer me please, he said, picking him up bridal style and carrying him inside. Mito. Come quick, he yelled, putting him on the table. Mito gasped, running over to him. She ripped the shirt from him to see the left side of his chest was black and blue along with his neck. There was an imprint of a hand around his neck showing that he was being choked out tightly. Mito immediately went to work examining the injuries, summoning a shadow clone to cover the area of the body twice as fast. Hashirama was waiting expectantly. Mito's face was set in a mask of focused determination as she assessed Naruto's injuries. Her eyes flickered with a mixture of anger and worry as she worked quickly, her hands glowing with healing chakra. The damage was severe, more than she had ever seen inflicted on Naruto before. Her heart ached as she looked at the bruises marring his skin, the deep cuts, and the handprint around his neck that spoke volumes of the violence he had endured. What is the prognosis? He said, looking down at him. He's suffered multiple broken ribs, internal bleeding, and severe bruising, Mito reported, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions raging inside her. His lung has been punctured, and there's damage to his trachea. It's a miracle he made it here at all. Hashirama clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white as he struggled to keep his composure. Who could have done this to him? He asked, his voice low and dangerous. Mito paused for a moment, her eyes meeting Hashirama's. There's no doubt in my mind, she said softly. This kind of damage, it wasn't an accident. Someone wanted to hurt him, to break him. Hashirama's expression darkened as the realization dawned on him. Minato, he muttered, the name leaving his lips like a curse. And Kushina. Wait, what is this? She said, seeing a small light on his upper right chest. It is a chakra recording seal, she said, shocked. Quick, shut it off so we can see how this happened to him, said Hashirama. They tossed it to the side and Mito started to heal Naruto. Naruto was opening his eyes when he saw Hashirama taking photos of him, and Mito was healing him. Guys, what, where, he said, but Mito stopped him. Just wait, Naruto-kun. You are okay, she said soothingly. Naruto listened and let Mito heal his injuries. Once she was done, he sat up and was grabbed hard by Mito and hugged with all her might. She was sniffling slightly, and she asked, what happened? Why did you have a chakra recording on you? She asked. Naruto gripped her tight and Hashirama joined the hug too. It was to see the looks on my parents' faces after I showed them my Rasengan. I don't want to see them again, he said, crying into her. Mito summoned a shadow clone and Hashirama followed suit to watch the recording. After a few minutes, they had tensed up at what they saw. It was despicable but more importantly abuse. We're here, Naruto, Hashirama said, leaning down to brush a hand through Naruto's hair. You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you anymore. I am done. You guys are my family. Not them, you guys are. I don't want to go back there ever again, he said, still crying. And you won't, Naruto-kun. We are here for you, said Mito, rubbing his back. It was taking a lot not to kill the assholes. She wanted to, so bad. But she knew the law was the only way to go. I can't believe that I am no longer the clan heirs to either clan, he said. That was when it hit Mito. He still was. Oh, that son of a bitch, she said, getting up and letting go of Naruto, walking to the library with vigor. She came back with a book that looked very out but still on the seams. She placed it down in front of Naruto, who was wiping away tears still, and showed him the first law. It was a book about Uzumaki clan law. You still are Naruto. In Chapter 1 of Section 2. In Uzumaki clan law, the heir regardless of boy or girl. It will be the firstborn of the family behind the clan head. Naruto, your mom, Kushina, isn't the clan head, it is me. This means that the firstborn of your mother, which is you, Means you are the clan heir still, and it is illegal in Uzumaki clan law if they try to change it. Besides, I have the final say who it is. Though the Namikaze is different, you likely won't be the clan heir to that anymore, she said, a little anger in her voice. Naruto didn't care anymore. He tried to make them proud of him, and hitting was always met with backlash. That's good, was all he said. Mito and Hashirama shared a look as Naruto spoke those words. The pain in his voice was evident, but there was something else there too, an exhaustion that went beyond physical injuries. It was the exhaustion of a child who had been fighting too long, trying too hard, and finally realizing that no matter what he did, it would never be enough. Hashirama knelt beside Naruto, his large hand resting gently on his shoulder. You don't have to fight for their approval anymore, Naruto. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Not here. Not with us. Naruto looked up at Hashirama, his blue eyes glassy with unshed tears. But they're my parents. Why don't they love me? Why is it so easy for them to ignore me? What did I do wrong? His voice broke at the last question, and the tears he had been holding back finally spilled over. Mito's heart shattered at the sight. She moved closer, wrapping her arms around Naruto as he sobbed into her shoulder. You didn't do anything wrong, Naruto, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Sometimes, people can't see what's right in front of them. Sometimes, they're too blinded by their own expectations, and their own desires, to recognize the gift they have. But that's up to them, not you. You are a wonderful child, Naruto, and you deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you can do or what they want you to be. Hashirama then handed Naruto a piece of paper, and he looked at it. It was the paperwork needed to become the Senju heir. Naruto looked at the two of them wide-eyed and asked them what this was. This was going to be your birthday present. You earned it, Naruto. Tsunade isn't worthy of being the next heir to the clan, so we thought that you would be better, and being the Uzumaki clan and Senju clan are related to each other from over 1,000 years ago, it makes sense, he said, shrugging. Naruto smiled at this and looked at Mito, who gave him another paper. Naruto, we don't mean to mean in any way, but we saw what they have been doing for a while. We wanted you to figure this out for yourself and make the decision for you and you alone. But we are taking Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and it will now be Kakashi because he didn't do anything when they did that to you at the Fire Daimyo court in the capital. This is a paper that needs to be signed to get custody of you. Thankfully we found that. Minato has to sign it, and you do not need to fight for it in court for your custody. Naruto was shocked at this, not because they wanted to go against his parents, but because they were doing it for him. What laws did they break, and how would you do that if he checks everything on his paperwork? He asked curiously. Breaking Uzumaki clan and Senju clan law, child neglect, child abuse, both physical and emotional, and not to mention not providing basic things for a child. The bigger thing is stunting a clan's heir growth to not one but two clans and breaking Uzumaki clan law from Chapter 1 Section 2. That and Naruto-kun, we have our way to get things signed, said Mito, looking at him. Naruto was just happy that they would go this far. You guys weren't mean. It makes me feel dumb for not seeing this sooner, he said. You aren't dumb, Naruto, you are just optimistic, said Hashirama, patting his head. Everyone in the room then felt a cold chill running through them. Agreed, mortal. They all looked to the living room to see a being that had a glowing aura around her. She was wearing a white robe as she sat down on the wood floor. Mito and Hashirama were shocked as they hadn't seen her in 10 years. You're the Shinigami, said Hashirama. Indeed I am, she said, smiling. You do not need to fear. I am not here for anyone. I am here to discuss something with you all, she said, gesturing for them to sit down. Naruto went over to put his hand out. My name is Naruto, pleasure to meet you, he said with her, giggling. My, you really have taught him well, you too, she said. Not to be mean, Shinigami. Why are you here? Asked Mito, still wary. I am here to say sorry, she said. You haven't done anything, said Hashirama. That is where you are wrong. I had said 10 years ago to Minato Namikaze, that fucking bastard, that one of his children was special, meaning one of you will change the future. My natural reaction was he was going to train all 4 of the children, but no. He trains the ones that have the chakra of the tailed beast, and not the soul. I thought you guys said I had part of the 9 tails in me, said Naruto, looking at Hashirama and Mito. Naruto, you have the soul of the fox inside of you while your siblings had 3 tails of chakra, the Shinigami said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. He had been taught enough Fuinjutsu to realize that he was not the fox, but it hurt knowing he was left out of the training for that reason. So that is why they trained them, he said, getting angry. Exactly, but I have come to give you something that I know will make you feel better, she said. I would like to alter the DNA of you, Naruto, so that Hashirama and Mito will become your biological parents, making everyone shocked. You can do that? Asked Naruto, jumping up. Indeed. You will be 50% Uzumaki and 50% Senju. Your chakra reserves will be way more than they are now, but I want to do something that will make up for the mistake that I have made, she said. The offer she made was overwhelming, yet there was an undeniable allure to the idea of becoming the true son of Hashirama and Mito. It wasn't about gaining more power or even revenge against his birth parents. It was about finding a place where he truly belonged, a family that cherished him for who he was. Hashirama and Mito exchanged worried glances, unsure of how to respond. The idea of altering Naruto's DNA was something they'd never considered, but Shinigami's proposal wasn't something to take lightly. They both knew that Naruto's desire for acceptance had been a driving force in his young life, and this might be the answer he had been searching for. Naruto, however, was lost in thought, his mind racing with conflicting emotions. On the one hand, he wanted so badly to feel loved and valued, to have parents who would look at him with pride instead of indifference. On the other hand, he couldn't ignore the fact that despite everything, Minato and Kushina were still his biological parents. Could he sever that connection, no matter how painful it had become? I don't know what to say, Naruto finally stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I mean, it's huge. Hashirama knelt beside him, his large hand resting reassuringly on Naruto's back. Naruto, this decision is entirely yours. We will support you no matter what you choose, but don't feel pressured to decide right now. Mito nodded in agreement. Take your time, Naruto. Think about what you truly want, not just in the moment, but for your future. I accept, but can you please keep my eyes the same? I like them a lot, and it makes me still out. The Shinigami smiled at him, walked over to him, and patted his head. You are a good person, Naruto-kun. Make sure you always stay like that. It is what makes you unique and something that people admire, she said. Are you ready? She asked. Wait, what about my wood release? He asked curiously. You were born with that, Naruto. I can say that you will not inherit it from Hashirama because you have always had it. Just train hard and one day you will be able to use it as he can. Though, I should tell you, even though you have good chakra control, you will have to work hard to catch back up because you will have Uzumaki and Senju chakra reserves, she said, bending down. Are you ready now? She asked. Naruto nodded and she grasped the side of his head and kissed his forehead, making him blush. Naruto glowed in a faint yellow aura as the process began. It happened no more than a second later that the aura was gone. Mito used her sensory abilities to see that Naruto did indeed have much more chakra. At the very least it was that of a mid-jonin. Naruto looked at them to see that he still had the same rounded face as a child who hadn't hit puberty yet, but he had some of their facial features. His hair was no longer bright red but rather it was slightly darker like Mito's. They all embraced in a hug and Naruto thanked the Shinigami who nodded and smiled at the scene. I am glad you kept those electric blue eyes of yours, Naruto-kun. I think you look cute with them. They will take care of you, Naruto-kun, said the Shinigami, fading away. Thank you, said Naruto, tearing up. The Shinigami nodded once more before leaving the family to embrace. The two shinobi didn't say it, but they were honored to have Naruto as their son regardless of whether they were blood or not. Hashirama was the first to speak after this. Well, Naruto, you are now by law official Naruto Uzumaki Senju because of your blood relation. Naruto looked at them expectantly. Does this mean I can call you Mom and Dad? Asked Naruto happily. The two of them nodded and were happy. Naruto had a family. This was the day Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze died, and Naruto Uzumaki Senju was born. Naruto, who recently turned 10 years old, was feeling amazing. He felt as if a major weight on his shoulders was lifted and was hanging out with his 4 friends. He was walking through the Senju compound area with Ino, Shino, Shikamaru, and Shuji. It turned out that the Senju compound was the third largest compound in the leaf from studying under his dad. It was weird to call Hashirama and Mito his parents, but it was the good kind of weird. Mito had even run tests on him, and Naruto really was their biological son. As if he would have been born from them. He was interrupted from his thoughts when Shikamaru started to talk to him. Say, Naruto. You said Lord Hashirama and Lady Mito said this is the third largest compound, he asked, jumping over a root from the ground. Yeah, they said it went in this order. Inuzuka because of the dogs and wolves, the Nara, because they have a deer preserve, the Senju, the Uchiha and the Hyuga are the same size surprisingly. Then it is the Aburame, Akimichi, Sarutobi, Yamanaka, the Karama clan, and then Uzumaki Namikaze. Then again, they are all over 8 square miles, he said, walking down the path. Troublesome. As big as this place is, it is relaxing, he said, looking back and seeing Mito walking along with the 5 of them. I should tell your mother about your mouth, Shikamaru-kun, said Mito teasingly. Shikamaru froze up and shook his head. Please don't, he said, making her laugh. I'm only kidding. You know, Naruto-san, I am trying to understand something, asked Shino, staring at him. Naruto's face faltered. Shino, please call me Naruto, we are friends, he said. My question is, why is that you spent more time over here than at your actual compound, he asked, looking at him. Naruto flinched slightly, but Mito answered him. I can answer that, Shino-kun, she said, walking up to him. His parents are busy with other things such as training his siblings, and I'm sure you know the 4th is his father. He nodded at this, and she continued. He has asked Hashirama and me to help him with his studies to not be a burden to them, she said. You Aburame are always so cute with the questions, she said, pinching his cheeks. Shino started to blush under his jacket, and started to wave his hands away. Please stop, Lady Mito, she chuckled, thanking God they didn't ask anymore. All their parents were made aware, and they said they would tell their kids in due time, but for now, they would let their friendship blossom and continue to be there for each other. Well, it is helping because Naruto is super smart, said Ino to her. Oh, thanks, Ino, he said, scratching the back of his head like praise. Yeah, one of the things I have found out is that there are so many types of jutsu to learn. You have taijutsu, genjutsu, and ninjutsu, which are the main 3. There you have types like fuinjutsu, which is sealing, kenjutsu, which involves swords and stuff like that. There is bojutsu, which is bowstaffs. You have medical ninjutsu, and there's elemental jutsu and much more. Yeah, it is a lot. A lot of troublesome work to learn, said Shikamaru as he saw the compound and sighed with relief. He was tired and wanted to sleep. Chuji's stomach grumbled, and he whined. Man, I am hungry, he said, rubbing his stomach. Mito patted his head. Don't worry, we have some snacks that I will whip up for everyone shortly, so you all sit out here, and I'll get the food ready, she said as she went inside. Naruto sat down while Shikamaru plopped down next to him, with Chuji sitting next to Shikamaru. Ino sat to the left of Naruto while Shino sat next to Ino, and they watched the clouds go by. We have a test tomorrow, don't we? Asked Shikamaru. Yes, it is a troublesome test tomorrow though, said Naruto, laughing slightly. Troublesome? You can just steal what I say all the time, he said, looking at him. Everyone else chuckled while Shino smiled slightly at the funny moment. As they sat under the shade of a large tree, the cool breeze rustling through the leaves, Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging that he hadn't felt in a long time. While everyone had their eyes closed, Naruto thought of capturing the moment by drawing a quick sketch of his point of view. He made sure to be quiet to not alert them of what was happening. He made a quick sketch of every one of his friends, and then started to get more detailed. Mito came out with the food, saw Naruto drawing, and smiled. She had been gone for about 10 minutes, but that was enough time for Naruto to get a scene. Here is the food, said Mito, and Chuji teleported to where the food was. As they started to munch and Mito brought up Naruto's drawing. You guys know Naruto-kun draws pretty well, she said, biting into a peach. You draw Naruto? Asked Ino, surprised. Yeah, I do. I was doing it over there when we were relaxing, he said, pulling out his notebook and showing them. It was all of them lying down, and it was well sketched too. Shikamaru was sleeping and had Z's around his head as Chuji was holding his stomach. Naruto had drawn some lines around his stomach to show he was hungry. Ino had a smug face on it, and Shino had a regular face. Naruto, what did you draw a smug face on me? She asked, a little mad. That was the face you had. You had your hands behind your head and were like, oh yeah, I own the place, he said laughing as she punched him on the shoulder. Regardless, it is a nice drawing, said Chuji eating some jerky. Indeed it is, but I look the coolest, said Shino in a monotone voice, making some of the others chuckle. They were all enjoying their snack when they heard a knock on the door. Mito opened the door to see the parents of clan heirs and said, time to go, everyone. Many of them whined but left. Naruto approached everyone and waved at them, and they all smiled at him as they were leaving. Many were upset about how Minato and his family treated him, and were happy his situation was better. They all left, leaving Naruto and Mito only. Do you know why I did that, Naruto-kun? She asked, and it made him look at her. I did that because everyone needs a break. At least twice a week, Naruto-kun, I want you to hang out with your friends. There will be no training aside from reading on those days. Is it because this teaches me to be talkative and all that? That and to make sure that you enjoy yourself. Everyone deserves to have fun in life, Naruto. This is a type of training for your soul, if you will. Everyone should have some R&D, she said, putting the dishes in the sink. Alright, so training is off the rest of the day. Hashirama and I must go to a clan meeting. But I would like you to read up on clan history starting in alphabetical order. We have yet to go in depth with it as we have glanced over it, she said, walking over to him and kissing him on the head. She was in a black and white lace battle kimono and was getting ready to go. I will be ready on the Akimichi and Abdurrahim then, said Naruto, still blushing from the kiss she gave him. Sounds good, Naruto. Love you, she said, blowing a kiss towards him. Love you too, Mom, he said, smiling a foxy-like smile as he waved to her. It had taken Naruto a while to say it to her and Hashirama, but he was able to say it now. It wasn't because he was uncomfortable, it was just because he never said it to his parents. Mito teleported herself to the council room to see many others filing in. Mainly the parents of the kids who were with Naruto, but still they filed in. Soon everyone was there, and Minato teleported into the room to begin his discussion. Now that we are here, I would like to talk about something I have been debating for a while, but this pertains to the Civilian Council and the Shinobi Council, he said, letting everyone hear him. How do you all feel about the graduating age? He asked everyone in general. Many of the civilians said it needed to be higher, while the shinobi said it was fine where it was. Hashirama was bothered by the question. Why would we change when it is fine where it is? He asked Minato, staring at him. Because, Lord Hashirama, if we were to lower it, it might be more beneficial to help us get more ninjas out faster, but if we increase it then we will have fewer ninjas. Once again, just keep it where it is. The only exception that I would make if we were to lower it is if it is a blow war outside right now, he said, getting slightly angry. A civilian councilman questions him. What is so bad about lowering it anyway? Children need childhood to be functioning human beings. If they are released too early, we will be sending out shinobi when they are not ready, and they will die. I was the one who put the law in place that they would graduate between the ages of 12 to 13 during peacetime and 10 years old if there had been a war going on for years, and we were low on shinobi. At least name a few shinobi that are different because of early graduation, said Fugaku Uchiha. He didn't like the Senju because of the conflict most of the Uchiha had with the Senju since over 100 years ago, but he would still like to hear an answer. Hashirama pointed at Fugaku and started to list off shinobi. Itachi Uchiha, Shursui Uchiha, Kakashi Hatake. Fugaku waved his hand in surrender. Fair point. Minato cleared his throat to speak. Well, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if we let a few graduates early, as I believe. He was cut off by Hashirama. Does it look like a give a damn? The point that I am making is I have experienced what it is like to fight early in battle, and I can say it is a bad idea, from first-hand experience. Everyone was either in a state of shock or had their mouth agape. Shikaku Nara had his mouth open and turned away to not laugh in front of everyone. Minato was the most shocked. Never in his life had Hashirama treated him like being brushed under the rug. He didn't know what to do, so he started to take a vote. Okay. Cough, cough. All in favor of lowering the graduation age. Cough, at the academy. Most of the civilians raised their head, but some of the civilians and none of the shinobi clans raised their hand. Okay, that looks like we will keep the graduation limit to 12. Minato wiped the sweat from his brow as he tried to control himself. It felt like he was being hit by something and it was making him nervous. On to more pressing matters, said Minato as he stood up. Most of the meetings after that were just nonsense that anyone could have cared less about, as it was just the civilian council making demands. After the meeting was done, Mito and Hashirama were approached by Minato. Could you and Mito come to the office for a minute? He asked, teleporting them with him. Guess we couldn't say no, Hashirama said as he looked up. He saw Kushina waiting to look at the window. He looked at Mito, who nodded at him, and she started the chakra recording. If this was what they had been waiting for the past 2 weeks, then it was time. So, Mito-chan, we would like you to know we had Kid become the Uzumaki clan heir, said Kushina. Permission not granted, she said simply. This made Kushina and Minato give a blank look. What? She asked, not sure if she heard her right. You heard what I said, Kushina. I said no, she said. Kushina was wondering when she stopped putting the chan suffix behind her name, but that didn't matter. Kushina's face twisted in confusion and slight anger. What do you mean by no, Mito? Kid is my daughter, and Uzumaki by blood. I have every right to make her the clan heir. Mito's expression remained calm and composed, but her voice carried an edge of authority that was hard to ignore. Kushina, the Uzumaki clan has rules, traditions, and procedures that must be followed when it comes to appointing an heir. It's not a simple matter of bloodline or personal preference. You may have given birth to Kid, but that does not automatically make her the heir. Minato stepped forward, trying to mediate. Mito, I understand your concerns, but we just want to ensure the Uzumaki legacy continues. With everything that's happened, we believe it's in the best interest of the clan to have a strong leader like Kid. Hashirama crossed his arms, his gaze fixed on Minato. Minato, this isn't about Kid's strength or potential. It's about the principles that have guided the Uzumaki clan for generations. As a Senju, I understand the importance of tradition, and this sudden decision of yours disregards that. Kushina's fists clenched. Traditions? Are you serious, Mito? After everything I've done for this village, for this clan, are you going to stand there and lecture me about traditions? Naruto was never meant to be the heir. He doesn't even have the Uzumaki traits. Then give me one reason why Naruto doesn't deserve to be clan heir, she said, getting in her face. Kushina didn't back down. A couple of weeks ago Naruto had learned a clan jutsu without our permission, which was reckless and dangerous. It shows he made an irresponsible decision and isn't ready, she ranted. Hashirama then looked confused. Wait, he went out of his way to learn a clan jutsu. That is initiative, meaning that he is responsible for wanting to better himself. What jutsu was it anyway? He said, playing along. He learned the Rasengan, a dangerous jutsu. Something his siblings can only handle, Minato said, hoping they would understand. Mito acted like she was shocked, the Rasengan, with Minato sighing in relief that she sided with them. That fact, he had just turned 10 years old and learned an A-rank jutsu. That is very impressive. He is incredibly smart if he can learn it, said Mito, with Hashirama nodding. No, Minato said as he face-bombed. Naruto isn't anywhere near ready for stuff like that, not to mention I already revoked his Namake's clan their status away to Naomi. Because he isn't strong, he said. And why is that? Asked Mito, smiling on the inside. The two parents paused as they had to think of what to say next. Well, he isn't like his siblings. Menma has 3 affinities, lighting, water, and fire. He even knows 3 taijutsu styles. Kid was able to unlock the adamantine chakra chains, have 2 affinities, earth and water, and have some of the best chakra control around. Finally, Naomi has 2 affinities, those being water and fire. She has the best weapon accuracy around and is an up-and-coming kenjutsu prodigy. Not to mention every one of them can use the tailed beast chakra sealed inside of them to an extent. Naruto is no way near matched to them in strength. No matter what, Kushina, traditions in the clan must be followed, and if you disobey them there will be consequences, she said, releasing some of her killing intent. She released some of her back at Mito, and they stared at each other. That is too bad, because we have already made her the heir, and there is no going back. Who cares about the clan law? She said smugly. Then we are done here, she said, turning around and slamming the door with Hashirama behind her. Hashirama caught up to her, and she stopped the recording. And just like that we have more proof she broke clan law along with Minato. Kushina put her head in her hands with Minato smiling behind her. You alright, honey? No, Mito has never treated me like that before. What did I do wrong? I'm sure that it is nothing, honey. Now why don't we head back home to the kids? He said to her. Senju compound. Naruto was busy reading and writing notes, and didn't notice much about his surroundings. He loved taking notes. Hashirama and Mito always tell him that he is a sponge. He loved learning about anything and everything. He would sometimes reread what he wrote down to make sure the information was locked into his brain. Naruto felt something around him was changing, and it indeed was. He felt something pulling him in. He looked up to see he was in a sewer and looked around. He started to walk down the corridor filled with ankle-high water but didn't understand why he wasn't wet. He then entered an open area to see a large cage. He heard a small grunt from behind the cage and got confused. He then looked into the cage to see there was a fox that was probably 12 feet tall and had one tail. Brat, get over here, said the fox. Hello, I know you are the fox, but do you have a name? He asked. Kurama was shocked at the fact he had never met him before, and that was the reason for his pain and suffering, but he immediately asked for his name. No one has ever asked me, not since Mito, he said quietly but answered. Kurama, nice to meet you. Now I know that you were a fox the size of a mountain before, but why do you like the size of a small building now? I'm not being mean in any way, he said, waving his hands in front of him. Kurama sighed. That can be explained, but first let the other two get down here, which made Naruto confused until she heard running. He saw Mito and Hashirama running down the tunnel until they got to him. Mito hugged and asked, Are you okay? What happened? She asked as she looked at Kurama. Kurama? She asked. Hello, Mito Uzumaki Senju, or whatever you go by now, he said, sitting down. As much as I like reunions, can you explain why you pulled my son into his mindscape, and why the heck are you smaller? She asked him. I'll explain, just give me a second, he said, sighing. When that damn Hokage placed me in here because of the Shinigami. A seal was placed on him, something that you know of called a soul separation seal. It is as it sounds. However, what I did not expect was to start regenerating the chakra. While the Hokage seals me into Naruto, and the chakra into his siblings, my chakra will start to regenerate naturally over time. It took 10 years to get a tail's worth of chakra left. Based on my calculations, the next 8 tails should start to come in faster and faster over time. I project I will have 4 tails by the time he graduates, and I should be fully back to normal when he turns 13 to 14, he said, letting out a breath. So, Menma, Naomi, and Kid aren't the Jinchuriki. I am, said Naruto. That is right, brat. Your siblings are what we like to call pseudo-Jinchuriki. Each can use tail beast chakra, but they are unable to get the full benefit like actual Jinchuriki has. They also can control the urges, he said. Mito was shocked. Naruto might be able to use the 9 tails as a power source if need be. This made her happy, knowing that Naruto was guaranteed to be an incredibly strong shinobi when he became a teenager. You will have no problems from me, said Kurama. Wait, you said urges? Asked Hashirama. Yes, urges. While they sealed 3 tails of my chakra into them, there is a 50-50 shot that remains demon chakra. It is my demon chakra, which in that case I would just filter out myself, but beings I am not there is the possibility that it might be normal chakra flowing through their system, he said, looking at them. The 3 were slightly surprised but accepted this bit of information. Well, Kurama, it was nice to see you, but I think we should get back to learning. I think we will teach him how to change the mindscape too while we are at it so that you can be comfortable, said Mito. Kurama nodded in return, and with that, they left Naruto's mindscape. Real world. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Said Mito as she sat up from the table, looked at what Naruto was learning, and saw he was writing notes. Naruto, I think that it is time we started some serious training. You are 10 years old and can use more jutsu so that your chakra coils don't implode on themselves, she said to him. What do you mean? He asked, wondering. What I mean is that you will start your shadow clone training. Let's step outside to the Senju training yard to see how many clones you can make. They made their way out, and Naruto made as many as he could. Holy crap. I think that is 400 shadow clones, said Hashirama. Well, that is quite a bit, but we will need you to have chakra for these exercises, she said, allowing him to dispel the clones. Aside from the 2 days off from training, you will use 20 shadow clones a day, and we will divide it up into certain parts of training. Today we will have 5 go toward chakra control, 5 will go to weapons throwing, 5 towards reading, and 5 will go practice the kata so that you can master the tidal fist, said Hashirama. What about me? He asked, wondering what would happen. You will be training physically because of thing you need to realize about shadow clones is they cannot build muscle back to the user. You have to work on that yourself, she said. Naruto nodded and followed Mito to a more open part of the training ground. As they reached the open area, Mito turned to Naruto, her expression serious but filled with warmth. Before we start, Naruto, there are a few things you need to understand. Training isn't just about becoming stronger, it's about learning control, discipline, and understanding your own limits. You have an immense amount of potential, but potential alone isn't enough. You need to harness it, mold it, and make it your own. Naruto nodded, absorbing her words. He knew that his newfound parents were some of the most respected and powerful shinobi in history, and if he could learn even a fraction of what they knew, he would be on the path to becoming someone truly formidable. First, we'll begin with physical training. You're still young, but building a strong foundation is crucial. We'll start with basic exercises, 300 push-ups, 300 sit-ups, 300 squats, 300 pull-ups, and 20 laps around the training ground. We haven't really worked on these all that much, but we will start now. These may seem simple, but they're the building blocks of a strong body. Once you've mastered these, we'll move on to more advanced techniques. Naruto dropped down and began his push-ups, his form perfect, but Mito quickly corrected him when she saw his pace. Slower, Naruto. Focus on your form, not speed. Each movement should be controlled. Feel your muscles working with each repetition. He adjusted his pace, feeling the burn in his arms as he moved up and down. After completing the set, he moved on to sit-ups, then squats, and finally a run around the training ground. Mito and Hashirama watched him closely, offering corrections and advice. As Naruto finished his run, he was breathing heavily, but there was a fire in his eyes. He loved the challenge and loved pushing his limits. Mito smiled, proud of his determination. You're doing well, Naruto. Remember, this is just the beginning. The more you train, the stronger you'll become, but don't overdo it. Listen to your body and know when to rest, Mito advised. Naruto nodded, wiping the sweat from his brow. I understand, Mom. I want to be as strong as possible, but I don't want to hurt myself. Hashirama chuckled, ruffling Naruto's hair. That's the spirit, Naruto. Let's move on to working out of the pond. It will focus on your strength conditioning and chakra control. You've already learned the Rasengan, which is an incredible feat for someone your age, but there's always room for improvement. I think you are the youngest to ever learn it. Something that isn't really talked about is that Rasengan is a chakra control exercise, but enough about that. Naruto walked onto the water and started to do squats. After 15, Naruto fell in and he grumbled. The only easy day, started Naruto, was yesterday, finished Hashirama. They worked until 5 p.m., and Naruto was dead. His head was killing him, his legs, arms, and chest hurt, and he was lying face first on the ground. Guys, I have a question, he said, trying to sit up. Why the heck did we train like this when you said you won't train like that when you hang out with friends? Mito laughed at this. Because then we can get you used to it. Reminds me. Hashirama got the paper signed. She said, making him whip his head around quickly. Really? He asked excitedly. Yep, Hashirama replied, handing it to him. You have now been adopted by Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki. However, we need the fire daimyo to finalize it. Naruto was genuinely happy, and even though he was sore from the exercise, he got up and hugged the two of them. So, how did you convince Lord Forth to sign it? He asked, wondering. I slipped it into his paperwork pile when he wasn't looking. I know for a fact that he doesn't read the paperwork all the way through and just signs it because I did the same thing, said Hashirama, laughing, making Mito and Naruto sweat slightly. And you are supposed to be the shining light for all future Hokage, said Mito jokingly. They all laughed, and the family went inside to enjoy dinner and to clean up from the day's activities. 7 months later, Naruto looked up to see the sun beating overhead. The academy was on a 2-week break period, so Mito thought it would be a good idea to take him to explore somewhere outside of the Leaf Village. They went from the lush forest of the leaf to grazing plains on the border of the Land of Wind and Land of Fire, to pure sand with dunes running along the stone-like path leading to the Sand Village. Mito looked down at her son and smiled at him. He carried himself proudly for everything that had transpired with his family. They started to teach him elemental manipulation a few months ago, and it was going lovely. 10 clones for each element he had, being wind, water, and earth. The Shinigami had said that in due time he would be able to use wood release. Her guess was he needed to work on combining earth and water to use the wood-style jutsu just like her lover could. Naruto was a level 3 apprentice in seedling and soaked up everything about Fuinjutsu better than most Uzumaki did. He was progressing faster than Kushina and Minato did when he was their age. "Why is it so hot out?" asked Naruto as he wiped the beads of sweat from his forehead. "Because we are in the desert, Naruto-kun." "I thought you were smart," said Mito, chuckling at him. "Haha, very funny. I still don't get why I had to go on a trip to the Sand Village," he said, walking along the sandstone road. "I was requested by the 4th Hokage to do something for the 4th Kazekage. I will be fixing the seal on something here and you might need to help me," she said, looking at him. Despite the discomfort, Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and curiosity. The Land of Wind was vastly different from the lush forests and cool breezes of the Land of Fire. Everything here seemed harsher, but there was raw beauty in the endless dunes and the stark, rugged landscape. As they walked, Naruto noticed the large stone walls of the village in the distance, rising like a mirage out of the shimmering heat. The gates of the hidden Sand Village were formidable, built to withstand the relentless winds and shifting sands of the desert. Naruto had heard stories about the Sand Village from his parents and teachers, but this was his first time seeing it in person. It was both thrilling and intimidating. Mito glanced at Naruto and smiled softly. "You'll get used to it, Naruto-kun. The desert can be unforgiving, but it also teaches you to appreciate the little things. Like a cool breeze, or the shade of a tree." Naruto nodded, though he was too busy taking in the sights to fully absorb her words. As they approached the village gates, they were greeted by 2 sand shinobi, who bowed respectfully to Mito. "Lady Mito, Lord Kazekage is expecting you," one of the guards said, his voice muffled by the cloth covering his face. Mito nodded in acknowledgement. "Thank you. This is my son Naruto. He'll be accompanying me." The guards exchanged a glance before nodding. "Understood. Please follow us." As they were led through the gates, Naruto couldn't help but notice how different the village was from Konoha. The buildings were made of sandstone and clay, designed to withstand the harsh desert environment. The streets were quieter, and there was a certain stillness in the air that was absent in the bustling Hidden Leaf Village. They were soon led to a large building in the center of the village, the Kazekage's office. The guards escorted them inside, where they were greeted by the 4th Kazekage, Raza. He was a tall, imposing figure with sharp features and a stern expression, his dark red hair reflecting the sunlight streaming through the windows. "Lady Mito, welcome to the Sand Village," Raza greeted her, his voice deep and authoritative. "And this must be your son, Naruto. I've heard much about you." Naruto bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Lord Kazekage. It's an honor to meet you." Raza's gaze lingered on Naruto for a moment before he turned back to Mito. "I appreciate you coming on such short notice. The seal on Shikaku has been showing signs of instability, and we require your expertise to reinforce it." Naruto glanced to the right to see there were 3 figures there. A girl with blonde hair turned into 4 pigtails, a kid with purple marker all over his face and a cat hood, and a boy who looked like he was tired beyond belief who looked like Raza. He thought those were his children, and he was right about that. I have a great idea," said Raza. "How about you children get to know each other in the hallway while myself and Mito talk shop," he said, pushing them into the hallway. Naruto looked at the 3 of them, and he got different reactions. All of them looked at him confused for a moment, but the cat boy spoke first. "What's up? My name is Kankuro. This is my elder sister Tamari and my younger brother Gaara," he said, pointing to them. Nice to meet you. My name is Naruto," he said, shaking all of their hands minus Gaara, who just stared at him. "He is like you, Naruto," said Kurama to him. "He senses me in you, and Shikaku is trying to talk to me," Oh, that is just lovely now, isn't it? He said back to him. Temari was the next one to speak. You training to be a ninja then? She asked, putting her hands on her hips. Yes, ma'am. My guess is you are too, if that giant thing on your back is any indication, he said, gesturing to the fan. Yes, I am. I asked that because I felt the calluses on your hand when I shook it, she said, making him scratch the back of his head. Oh, so you're the smart one, I am guessing, he said, making her smile slightly. Yep. Kankuro here is not the smart one, sometimes, and Gaara is quiet, she said, looking at him, who was still giving Gaara a weird look. Naruto noticed that Gaara's eyes hadn't left him since they were pushed into the hallway. Something was unsettling yet intriguing about the redhead's intense gaze. Naruto had heard rumors about a Jinchuriki in the Sand Village, and judging by Gaara's demeanor, it wasn't hard to guess that the boy was the one. So, what do you do for fun around here? Naruto asked, trying to break the awkward silence. Kankuro scratched his head and shrugged. Well, we usually train or help out with missions. There's not much else to do in a place like this. You're not from here, so the desert might be a bit boring for you. Temari nodded in agreement. Yeah, it's not exactly a vacation spot. But we've got our ways to keep busy. What about you, Naruto? What do you do for fun back in the leaf? Naruto hesitated, glancing briefly at Gaara before answering. I like to train too, but I also hang out with my friends, he said. Gaara, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up, his voice low and almost hesitant. Why are you here? The question took Naruto by surprise, but he quickly recovered. I'm here to help my mom with whatever she needs. She's good with seals, so the Kazekage asked her to come. Gaara's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe just a deeper understanding. You're like me, aren't you? Naruto blinked, taken aback by the directness of the question. He knew exactly what Gaara was asking, but it wasn't something he often discussed openly. Yeah, he replied quietly. I am. Kankuro and Temari exchanged glances, neither of them saying anything but aware of the weight of the conversation. It wasn't easy being a Jinchuriki, and they understood that Gaara rarely found someone who could relate to his struggles. Naruto, we know that the beast is separate from the person, so you don't have to worry about us, said Temari. Naruto smiled and nodded at her. Yeah, I know, you two would have run to the hills. Well, more like dunes, he said, making the two laugh. You must be strong, then, Gaara continued, his eyes narrowing slightly. To control the power inside you. Naruto shrugged, trying to downplay the significance. It's not easy, but I've had help. It's not something you can do alone. Gaara's gaze softened just a fraction, and Naruto felt a strange connection forming between them, a bond of shared experiences that transcended words. For the first time, Naruto saw Gaara not as an intimidating figure, but as someone who understood the burden he carried. In the office, weird how things turn out, don't they? Said Raza, sitting up from his desk. Never in a million years did he think Minato was like this to his family. He was glad he found out the information. He had debated setting up a political marriage with his son Menma and his daughter Temari, or even Kankuro and Naomi. But he wouldn't do that anymore. He hated the man with a passion now. Well, I am glad is with Naruto that I know will take care of him, he said, walking over to her. Indeed, I'm glad that someone else knows, but we would like your help when we go to court against them in about a little of 2 years. Raza nodded and smiled at her. Of course. Not to mention Naruto, and you are helping my son with his seal. I will be indebted to you. I understand not to hold it against Minato as a leader because it would cause bad relations between us, but I will hold it against him though as a person. It is wrong what he did, he said with her nodding. Well, let us get the children and we can get this started, she said, opening the door to see them conversing with each other. Raza even saw Gaara joining in the conversation. Now let Gaara-kun, Naruto-kun, me, and Raza come to the sealing room, she said, following the Kage. Everyone followed close behind as they made their way down the hall. In the sealing room. The sealing room was a vast chamber within the Kazekage's tower, lined with ancient scrolls, inscriptions, and powerful seals etched into the walls. The air was thick with the presence of old and potent chakra, a testament to the long history of sealing techniques passed down in the Sand Village. As they entered, Naruto couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine. This room was designed for serious business. Naruto-kun, please stand next to Gaara when I place the seal, said Mito as she put the two right across from each other. She looked at Gaara and spoke, Gaara, I want you to know that what we're about to do will help you gain better control over the power inside you. Gaara nodded. This'll be uncomfortable, but it will only last about a minute, she said. Raza, stand on the other side opposite of me, she said, getting into position. Mito started to run through hand seals, starting the sealing sequence. Mito's hands moved with precision, forming a series of intricate hand seals. The chakra in the room began to swirl, responding to her command. She channeled her energy into a sealing array on the floor, which began to glow with a soft, pulsating light. Naruto watched with a mixture of curiosity and determination. He had a deep understanding of what Gaara was going through. After all, he too was a Jinchuriki, bearing the burden of a powerful and dangerous entity within him. The connection between him and Gaara had grown over time, and he was determined to help his friend find the peace he deserved. Gaara, I need you to remain as calm as possible, Mito instructed, her voice steady and reassuring. This process will draw out a portion of the seal, which will be rebalanced your seal after I fix it. It's going to feel intense, but trust me, this will help you gain more control. Gaara took a deep breath and closed his eyes, mentally preparing himself for the procedure. His hands clenched into fists at his sides as he steeled his resolve. He had faced countless attempts in his life and endured unimaginable pain, but this was different. This was a chance to reclaim his life, at being more than just a vessel for a monster. Naruto stared at Gaara, offering silent support. He knew better than anyone how isolating and terrifying it could be to live with such a burden. The presence of a friend could make all the difference. Mito activated the seal, and immediately, a wave of power surged through the room. Gaara's body tensed as Shikaku's chakra began to stir within him, responding to the summoning of the sealing technique. His breathing grew heavier, but he kept his focus, trusting Mito and Naruto. The sealing array beneath Gaara's feet glowed brighter, and the inscriptions on the walls seemed to come alive, pulsating with energy. The air crackled with tension as Mito deftly manipulated the seal, guiding the chaotic chakra through the array and into the containment field she had created. Raza watched intently, his heart pounding in his chest. As a father, he had always worried for Gaara, even if he had not always shown it. The village demanded a strong and ruthless leader, but in moments like these, he was simply a parent desperate to help his child. Seeing Gaara endure so much pain had taken a toll on him, and he prayed that this sealing would bring his son the peace he had longed for. Temari and Kankuro weren't doing much better. They were worried Gaara would become something they didn't want to see. Gaara started to shake from the pain which worried Naruto. Naruto placed his hands on Gaara's shoulder, trying to shake him out of it. Fight Gaara. Don't let it control you, he said. There was then a sinking feeling and the two of them were in some type of mindscape. Naruto saw Gaara's tailed beast while Gaara saw Naruto's. Ha 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 ha. You look stupid, brother. You are the nine-tailed fox with two tails, yelled Shikaku. Kurama narrowed his eyes and released his demonic killing intent, making Shikaku shut up. That doesn't mean I still can't kick your ass. If you so much as torment this boy before me, I will make sure to come by with my host and I will beat you to the ground, understand? How about trying to work with a host rather than annoy them, why don't you? Said Kurama as he stared at him. Shikaku nodded frantically and agreed. Gaara and Naruto didn't have time to react as they were sucked back into the real world, and Mito placed a new sealing matrix on Gaara similar to that of Naruto. Gaara blinked as he returned to the real world, his body trembling from the intense ordeal. He could still feel the residual pain, but there was something different now, an odd sense of calm that he hadn't experienced in years. It was as if a great weight had been lifted from his chest, allowing him to breathe a little easier. Naruto let out a relieved sigh as he saw Gaara's eyes return to normal. You did it, Gaara. You're stronger than you think. Gaara's lips curved into a small, exhausted smile. I wouldn't have made it without your help, thank you, Naruto. Mito stepped forward, inspecting the newly placed seal with a critical eye. The seal is holding well. It should help you keep Shikaku's chakra in check and give you more control over your powers. However, this is only the first step. You'll need to continue training and learning to work with Shikaku instead of fighting against him. Gaara nodded, his resolve hardening. He had been given a chance to reclaim his life, and he wasn't going to waste it. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. Raza, who had been holding his breath the entire time, finally allowed himself to relax. He approached his son cautiously, his eyes softening as he took in Gaara's weary but determined expression. Gaara, I'm proud of you. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that gave Gaara's heartache. For so long, he had believed that his father saw him as nothing more than a failed weapon, a monster. To hear those words now, after everything they had been through, meant more than he could express. Thank you, father. Temari and Kankuro, who had been watching from the sidelines, rushed forward to join their brother. Temari's eyes were misty with unshed tears as she pulled Gaara into a tight embrace. You scared us, but I'm so glad you're okay. Naruto watched the family reunion with a sense of satisfaction. He knew what it was like to feel isolated, to struggle with a power that seemed beyond control. Seeing Gaara surrounded by people who cared for him, and who wanted to support him, gave Naruto hope for his future. Maybe, just maybe, he could find the same kind of acceptance someday. Mito's voice broke through Naruto's thoughts. Naruto, you did well. You've grown so much. I'm proud of you. How did you do that? Kurama threatened to beat the hell out of him, he said, making Mito laugh. Well, tell him I said thank you, she said to him. Mito chuckled softly, her eyes filled with pride. The two Uzumaki walked up to the family. I will need to check tomorrow that the seal is alright, but other than that Gaara should be able to get some sleep, she said, making Gaara wide-eyed. Sleep was something he never had the chance to do properly. Thank you, ma'am, he said, grateful for the seal on him. The two redheads let the family converse once more and headed on to the hotel they were staying at. The next morning, Gaara woke up feeling more refreshed than he had in years. The usual oppressive presence of Shikaku was still there, but it was muted, no longer the overwhelming force that it had once been. He could feel the Bija's chakra, but it was no longer a constant threat. Instead, it felt like something he could learn to control, to harness. Mito entered the room with a warm smile. Good morning, Gaara. How are you feeling? Gaara sat up, testing his strength. Better, much better. Thank you, Lady Mito. Mito nodded, pleased. I'm glad to hear that. The seal is holding perfectly, but remember, it's up to you to maintain the balance. Keep working with Shikaku, and you'll find that things will get easier over time. Gaara's expression was serious as he absorbed her words. I will. I won't let this opportunity go to waste. Good, I will make sure to let Naruto-kun write to you all, she said. Naruto went up to Gaara, who took his hand in appreciation. Thank you, Naruto, for being a friend. Naruto gave a foxy grin and smiled at him. It was no problem. Just remember that you always have a friend back in the Leaf Village, he said, letting go. He moved to Kankuro and shored his hand too. Thanks for helping us, man, he said, grinning. No problem, just make sure to use war paint and not makeup, he said, making Kankuro get a tick mark on his head. It is war paint, Naruto, he said, making him chuckle. Whatever makes you feel better. He walked away from a red-faced Kankuro, fuming at what he said to Temari. He went to shake her hand, but instead, he got a huge, making him blush. He didn't know what to do, and he was caught off guard by her straightforwardness. No problem, he stammered, trying to keep his composure. Temari smirked, enjoying the reaction she'd gotten out of him. Take care of yourself, Naruto, she said softly, her voice a mix of teasing and genuine care. And don't let your guard down. Naruto, still blushing, nodded. Yeah, you too, Temari. With that, the Sand siblings said their goodbyes, and Naruto watched as they walked away, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He had helped a new friend, and in return, had forged a bond that could last a lifetime. It was a feeling that made him realize just how far he had come from the lonely days of his childhood. As he turned to rejoin his team, Mito caught his eye and gave him a proud nod. She had seen the way Naruto had connected with Gaara and his siblings, and it warmed her heart to see her grandson grow not just in strength, but in compassion as well. You did well, Naruto, Mito said as they walked back to the hotel together. Naruto scratched the back of his head, grinning sheepishly. Thanks, Mom. It was kind of weird at first, but I'm glad I could help. Mito chuckled, ruffling his hair. You've always had a gift for bringing people together. You've always had a good heart, Naruto. Don't ever lose that. The world needs more people like you. I won't ever lose that, Mom, he said as they left the sand village. As he saw the gates of the sand village get smaller and smaller, he thought of when the next time they would meet again. Back in the Leaf Village, Hashirama, why the hell won't Mito give the clan heir status to Kid? Asked Mito with slight anger. Hashirama sighed for the 100th time today, because she said it herself. She chooses who is the next clan heir. She also said that she is following the Uzumaki clan law by having the firstborn be the heir. You said it yourself all those years ago that you want to be left out of clan affairs, so you have no say in this, he said standing outside the Senji gate. I understand the law, Hashirama, but I'm thinking about what's best for the clan. Kid has the temperament, discipline, and focus that Naruto lacks. She's more suited for the responsibilities of leading the Uzumaki clan, she said, crossing her arms. If you would understand the law, you wouldn't have pushed the paperwork to make your daughter the clan heiress, he replied. Kushina looked away, her frustration still simmering. I just want what's best for our clan, Hashirama. I want to ensure its future. And so does Mito, Hashirama replied gently. She's made her decision because she believes that Naruto is the one who can carry the clan forward. You need to trust in her judgment. It also amazes me how much you talk horribly about your son Naruto. Makes me think you don't care for him at all, he said, opening the gates. She widened her eyes at the statement he made. She was about to retort, but Hashirama was already inside the compound, meaning he was done. Kushina huffed and walked away once more, not understanding the resentment being thrown her way. Hashirama sighed as he stopped the recording he had. They are just giving this to us, aren't they? He said. Hashirama gazed at the photograph, his fingers tracing the edges of the frame as he reminisced about the times he had spent with Naruto. The boy had been a ray of light in the Senju compound, a symbol of hope and strength that reminded Hashirama of his own youth. There was something in Naruto's eyes, a determination, a fire, that told him the young Uzumaki had the potential to be a great leader. Mito saw it too, and that was why they had chosen him as the one to carry the Senju and Uzumaki legacies forward.